being touted as the most important election in American history. So we are here to bring you coverage of the 2024 general election. Welcome to WCTV's live coverage of the 2024 United States election. I'm Joe Cirillo.
And I'm Meg Berry.
We will be here with you from 7 to 10 this evening with coverage of the presidential election and races in the state of Pennsylvania and Greene County as the results roll in. Polls close in the state in less than an hour, so let's take a look at the Greene County election ballot. There are two races unique to Greene County in the ballot for the 14th District Congress Representative. Republican Guy Rentschler, and Democrat Chris Ziodos are running for the Senate. For the 50th District House Representative, Democrat Drew Ross Manko and Republican Bud Cook are up against each other in that race. Every other race on the ballot is either the presidential race or the races for Pennsylvania State Senator, Attorney General, Auditor General, and State Treasurer. For more on the Greene County elections tonight, Dean Shazer joins us with what the polls suggest and what we may see in the races from Greene County's perspective.
Thanks, guys. From Greene County, we think we have a good idea of how some of these races will turn out. For the 14th Congressional District, Guy Rentschler has held the seat since he won in 2018, and it seems as though he'll win again this year. Republican Bud Cook has held the 50th Legislative District seat, which is the seat Greene County gets in the Pennsylvania State House of Representatives. Cook was originally elected in 2016 as the 49th District Rep before the changing of district numbers in 2023, where Greene County became District 50. Both of these men won their 2022 general elections. Rentschler ran unopposed in 2022, while Bud Cook won by 29 points over Doug Mason. This year, Rentschler will run against Chris Ziodos, and Cook will run against Drew Ross Manko. Polls close at 8 here in Pennsylvania. While there are 22,533 registered voters in Greene County, we'll let you know later in the night when results start rolling in who takes those respective seats. Back to Joey and Meg at the desk.
Thank you, Dean. We caught up throughout the last few weeks with Waynesburg University faculty and students to ask them what changes they want to see in the next 4 years here and what some students had to say.
So I personally would like to see the economy grow greater and better, especially with I want gas prices to go down, grocery prices, and especially housing.
Well, I'd like to see gas prices go down. Food prices go down. I don't think it should cost as much as I'm paying right now for my gas, like it was before. I think 2020. I remember seeing the gas prices rise and rise in New York, so that was pretty unfortunate. But yeah, I'd say just prices going down. I'd like to see change.
For the next 4 years, I just want to see better economic opportunities for people. Not just the people within this country, but also the people coming into this country.
I'm looking for the economy. I hope it gets better, the prices go down and just the overall cost of living gets lower and things aren't as expensive.
Well, I think the most obvious answer is lower prices, lower gas and food and items like that. And mainly, I think peace across seas with the wars. I think that needs to come to an end. So I really would like to see peace amongst the world.
We're just getting started here on WCTV's live election coverage. Mia Hankins joins us when we come back for a look at Pennsylvania state races before the polls officially close. Gotcha.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly. Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. I'm Mia Hinkins. Taking a look at the statewide races for this evening, the main focus is on the U.S. Senator race as Republican Dave McCormick looks to unseat incumbent State Senator Democrat Bob Casey. Polls have been as close as can be the entire cycle as Casey and McCormick battle for the Pennsylvania seat in the Senate. Looking at 270towin.com, looking across 22 polls, Bob Casey has a slight 3-point edge over McCormick. No poll posted in November has Casey with more than a 5-point advantage, and some polls give McCormick a 1-point advantage, so anything could happen tonight. A new Attorney General will be elected as well. Current Attorney General Michelle Henry is not running to be re-elected, so it is between Democrat Eugene DePascale and Republican Dave Sunday. The interesting thing with this race is the fact that DePascale has never prosecuted a case and has little criminal law experience, which has been the biggest knock on him during his campaign. There are two other state races for Pennsylvania. Democrat Malcolm Kenyatta and Republican Dem DeFore are running for Auditor General of the state, and Democrat Aaron McClelland is running against Republican Stacey Garrity for State Treasurer. Once the polls close in the state, we will have updates on all of those races for you. Thank you, Mia. Earlier last week, we sat down with Caroline Poole to talk more about issues in the election. Welcome back into the 2024 live election coverage here on WCTV. I am Meg Berry, and we are joined by Caroline Poole for a quick interview on all things 2024 election, obviously. But Caroline is a Stover Scholar here at Waynesburg University, so she's pretty knowledgeable about this political debate that we have going on here. So, Caroline, my first question for you is, what changes do you want to see in the next 4 years in the United States? Just any type of changes. It doesn't have to be towards one party, but just overall changes you want to see in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the coming 4 years, I think there are a lot of changes that need to take place. Right away, as an early childhood education major, something that comes to my mind is gun control. But what I want to talk about is I believe in the right to bear arms. If someone comes into your house, you have the right to protect yourself. With that being said, we also have a right to protect students and teachers and let them feel safe at school. I don't know what the solution is to that because we need to protect the right to bear arms, but also our individuals and public. So something or a policy to be put in place to protect those individual rights and the people.
Yes, thank you for that. And when it comes to voting, like when you are putting your ballot in or putting into consideration what candidate is better for you to vote for, what's the most important policy that you think of when you're in the process of voting?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think everyone's answer will differ. However, for me personally, although all the policies matter to me, whether that be economics, immigration, Supreme Court rulings, anything like that, I tend to look at the person more. Is this candidate going to represent me? Is this candidate going to follow the Constitution, the most important document in our nation's history? And what is this candidate's stance on the wars? What are we going to do to not only protect ourselves, but are we going to get involved? What does the future look like? And that's really what I look for when I'm voting.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually super insightful. And I think that's super important to how is this person as a candidate? Who are they and how are they going to represent our country? But so that kind of ties into the next question here. Obviously, we're in college. We're going to be the next generation of this country. So at some point, we are going to get married and have kids. And this is something that will probably affect our children later down the line. So my next question for you is, do you believe public prayer should be allowed in schools?
So that is a wonderful question. I recently have been reading up on this Supreme Court case. I believe it is Kennedy versus Birmingham. And the Supreme Court ruled that the public school district cannot forbid their football coach to kneel on the 50-yard line and pray after games. And I believe in public schools that we cannot take away people's ability to pray, but we can also not force the religion on them. So as a teacher, I would love for a student to approach me and ask if they could pray or if they could gather at the flagpole and do that, and they would be exercising their rights under the Constitution. Absolutely, they can do that and they can express that. But when it comes to opening the door to allowing public prayer in schools, it opens the door to actually all the religions. So if we're going to open the door to public prayer for Christianity, we're going to have to open the door to every other religion. And I think that might cause a little bit of upheaval and problems in the school districts.
Yeah, of course. And then as active college students and paying off debts, and when we graduate, we are going to have student loans and things of that nature. So do you believe student loan forgiveness is unfair?
So when it comes to student loan forgiveness, recently the bill was shot down that the post-pandemic, we will not be doing the full loan forgiveness or application. But, you know, I think individuals can still apply for federal loan forgiveness. Say you work for the government or lower population areas in which you can apply for those grants. I don't think it is necessarily unfair. If you apply and it is granted to you, good for you. I think you deserve it. However, we cannot do it for everyone. We just don't have the kind of money for that.
Yeah, of course, of course. And then another question that has been kind of hard for people to answer for the pure fact of right now, we are a pretty divided nation when it comes to the red and blue side of the spectrum. So what do you think is the most important issue that the United States is facing? What do you think it is right now? And a little bit of a backup question to it. If you were in charge, how would you propose that we fix or address that issue? So a two-part question. What's the most important? Right. What's the biggest issue that we're facing? And how would you address fixing that issue?
Wow. I think there are a lot of issues we are facing right now as a nation. However, for me personally, I really want to look at the mental health crisis in America. That's just something I really am passionate about. Why aren't we doing anything or advocating for individuals? I think the more we normalize it and express that, the more comfortable people would feel sharing their stories and reaching out for help, which I think would save a lot of lives and loved ones. So that's something very important to me. Along with social media outlets, we see a lot of with the blue and the red, the false propaganda being shoved in all of our faces, and we can't even believe news outlets anymore. So where are we getting our information from, and how do we know what's true and what's not true? And that is a big problem for me. I struggle with that a little bit because I never know if I'm fully being educated or not. So I think maybe making sure news broadcasting stations are checking their facts, are giving us the right answer. I don't think we'll ever be able to eliminate biases, but there are problems all over with the economy and things going on. But I think, first of all, we have to focus on the people and how are they doing. And I think that's my main concern.
Yeah, I love that. That's a fantastic answer. And my final question for you, Caroline, is, again, as college students, college can be expensive, and we're seeing an uprise in college tuition, and it could be causing colleges to shut down because they're not getting as much interest, and that's been happening across the nation. So should there be free college education? That's a tough question. It's a tough question.
This is a tough question. I don't know. I feel like either way I go, people are going to disagree with me. But I'm going to have to go with I wish, but no. And why I'm saying that is because I do not think that it is feasible to have free education for everyone. Some people, yes, I know some people apply for many scholarships and get a lot of money off of college, which is wonderful. However, with our economy and the institutions themselves, we could not afford to give everyone free education. Yeah. Although I wish we could, but the institutions would suffer, the students would suffer because of everything that the school couldn't be supplying us with. And then also our economy would suffer. So I wish, but no.
Yeah, I'm sure most college students would agree with you there. But thank you, Caroline, so much for sitting down with us and doing this interview. That's all for this interview. Stay tuned for more live election coverage here on WCTV.
Just before we go to break, currently Donald Trump at 7:05 has won the states of Indiana and Kentucky, and candidate Harris has won Vermont, Vermont being 3, and then Trump now having 19 total. When we do come back here on WCTV, Michael McKenzie joins us for a look at the presidential race here in Pennsylvania and beyond.
Have you ever wondered what the life of a Yellow Jacket newspaper looks like? Why don't we show you? Straight from the printing press to our editor's desk into the newsstands, you can pick up your own copy of the Yellow Jacket newspaper in Buell Hall, the Stover Campus Center, or any of our other newsstand locations on campus. When you get your very own copy, you can read it at your own leisure anywhere around Waynesburg. You can kill time waiting for your next class to start by reading up on campus news and our op-ed pieces. You can even take your copy to the Beehive and catch up with friends as you read up on the latest regional stories. Looking for a peaceful place to read now? Head on over to the Everly Library. Sit back, relax, and catch up on the latest in Waynesburg sports. Oh, and if you didn't know, we are also digital at theyellowjacket.org.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. It has been a wild summer and fall for the presidential election, dating all the way back to the debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden back in June. It led to many questions about Biden's ability to lead the country for another 4 years. Later in July, we saw the first assassination attempt on Trump in Butler, PA, a week after President Biden announced he would drop out of the race. He endorsed Kamala Harris late in July, and on August 6th, Harris received the nomination for the presidential race at the DNC. The only debate between Trump and Harris was on September 10th, but they have taken their swings at one another many times since then, which has led us here today. For a closer look at the presidential race, we welcome in Michael McKenzie. Michael?
Thank you, guys. Taking a look at the presidential race tonight, all eyes are on those results as they begin to come in for some states. First, let's look at the map from 4 years ago when President Biden beat Donald Trump. You see all those battleground states that went blue. Biden took Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada to win the presidency in 2020. Now let's switch over to the 2024 map polls, and they're as close as ever in all 7 battleground states. Every other state and the District of Columbia is being projected by many outlets as either strongholds or likely states to either go Republican or Democrat. That's what you see on the screen. Now, it doesn't mean we won't see a surprise or two in those states tonight, but as long as the other 44 states hold true to their projections, it will come down to those 7 battleground states. The polls are close in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, as you see the 7 yellow states on your screen right now. The polls close at 7 in North Carolina. They close at 8 in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And looking at the projections from racetothewhitehouse.com, they believe Harris will take Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, that blue wall, so to speak, that would give her the presidency. Trump, they believe, will take all the other battleground states in Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. But again, with the blue wall states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, that would give Kamala Harris the Electoral College win. Now, the polls are close in all of those 7 states, so anything can happen, but they suggest that there are 3 true toss-up states in Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Georgia tonight. The polls slightly favor Harris in Wisconsin and Michigan, and they slightly favor Trump in North Carolina and Arizona. And if those 4 states end up that way, that would mean either Harris or Trump would have to take 2 of the 3 true toss-up states. Again, this is just based off of polling and projections. We have seen those polls and projections be wrong in the past, so anything can happen in those 7 battleground states tonight. Another reminder as well, not to be surprised if we don't know who the 47th president will be by tomorrow morning. Nevada has already ruled that they will count absentee ballots that arrive 3 days after Election Day. And back in 2020, a number of those battleground states didn't even have a projected winner until Thursday or Friday of that week. And there were a number of factors that stemmed from COVID measures that year, but most of those states have said this year, this cycle, that the results may not be announced by the end of the night. We will have updates as results start rolling in from Pennsylvania and other states throughout the night.
Thank you, Michael. Dr. Larry Stratton is a political professor at Waynesburg University, and last week we spoke with him about the important issues on the table for this election.
We're sitting down now here on our WCTV live election coverage with Dr. Larry Stratton. Dr. Stratton, thank you for taking the time to join us.
You're welcome. It's great to be here, Michael.
All right, first question here is, Within the next 4 years, whether it's Kamala Harris or Donald Trump elected as president, what are some of the changes you want to see in the next 4 years?
Well, I hope that Americans will be less polarized and come together in a sort of a generally happier moment. My ideal is William Penn's vision of a peaceable kingdom, and he spoke about the holy experiment in religious freedom in America, which he set out for Pennsylvania. It's captured in the painter Edward Hicks' painting The Peaceable Kingdom, with the lion and the lamb, everyone there together. So, I mean, it might be naive, but that's sort of the ideal. Martin Luther King referred to the beloved community, which would reflect a similar spirit.
And you mentioned that, like, coming together, the sort of divide there is right now in the country. Do you think that there is any common ground between the Republican and Democratic Party and policies or things that they can agree on?
Well, I do think so. I mean, there are a lot of the positions in economics that are similar. Our society holds the aspiration, the belief that the Constitution is what holds us together. Here, the law is king, and I think we need political leaders who will strive to bring us together.
Now, when you're voting, when you're casting your ballot in any election year, what do you think is the most important policy for yourself, at least, when voting?
Well, I vote hopefully to affect policies and people which will be good for the future of America, to preserve the strengths of our system while providing for opportunities for new ideas, so the country will flourish and be safe from international issues and be balanced and free.
Now, we have a few policy questions here on like specific policies and things that people are arguing, both Republicans and Democrats arguing for and against it. First, what do you think is the strongest argument in favor of the separation between church and state?
Well, I mean, my model, and this is the focus of my doctoral studies, was on the First Amendment of the Constitution, the religion clauses. That Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So there's a strong sense that there is no official state religion. And then also that Americans have the freedom to practice their religion. And those are the two central values. There also is no religious test, according to the Constitution, in the appointment of officers. So these three things make sure that religion is allowed to flourish without being favored by the state, and that it protects, it provides for religious freedom.
Now, there has been a lot of argument between student loan forgiveness. Obviously, President Biden introduced legislation that he hoped to forgive a bunch of student debt, and Vice President Harris has said if she is elected president, she would move forward with that legislation, while Donald Trump and the Republicans have argued against that. Do you believe that student loan forgiveness is unfair, or is that something you are in favor of?
Okay, well, the critical phrase that you used was legislation. The problem with the Biden administration's proposal, which was ultimately rejected by the Supreme Court, is that it wasn't legislation. It was unilateral federal action on the part of the executive, and the court said no. In America, especially with such a vast amount of money, that has to be declared to be law by the Congress, with the process of both houses approving it and then the president to sign it. So he sought to skip the first step of going to Congress for legislation. Now your general question is, well, I mean, that's something to be hashed out. I actually am generally opposed to something like that. When people got the loans, they knew what the terms were, and this would be to change the status of the contract. Now, I do think that the entire student loan system has gotten worse since the federal government largely took it over during the Obama administration. That in the older days, it was basically brought by private banks and financial institutions in competition with one another. So actually, interest rates were then lower.
And then our final question here, it's been a huge argument and policy of the Republican Party, not only for Donald Trump, but a lot of candidates looking to get elected. Do you believe that clean energy can drive America's economy to recovery?
Well, that's an empirical question. We have the capacity for so much energy that's under the ground in America that can be tapped in a clean way, so that many alternatives without subsidies are very inefficient and therefore wasteful and exploit taxpayers. Now, maybe that will change in the future, but the idea of I think the investment prospects for things like the Green New Deal are very bad investments for both individuals and for the society at large.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Stratton, for joining us. This is the WCTV live election coverage.
WCTV's live election coverage rolls on, but first, we step outside for a look at the weather with Seth Adams.
Sitting around 65 degrees right now in Waynesburg. As you can see, it's already pitch black, but it's been a beautiful couple of days here in November so far, but stay tuned for
Hi, I'm Seth Adams, and I give you your next 5-day forecast. It has been a beautiful day in Waynesburg with a high of 78 earlier in today, sitting around 65 like I said a little bit ago, but tonight it'll drop to the lower 60s and be clear throughout the night. Tomorrow we will see a drop with a high of only 68 degrees with a 50% chance of rain throughout the day. However, the low will only be 62. Thursday we see another comfortable day with a high of 66 and partly cloudy with a low of 48. Friday will be sunny with a high of 62 and low of 41. Saturday, senior day for football, so be there, all right? Just be there. It will be partly cloudy with a high of 59 and low of 40 with partly cloudy skies. Finally, Steelers Sunday will be a rainy day with a 50% chance of rain and a high of 61 and low of 48. That's all I got for you guys. Back over to the election coverage.
Thank you, Seth. And when we come back, a look at Jim Justice campaigning on the Trump's behalf here in Waynesburg.
Welcome back into WCTV's live election coverage. Late last month, Jim Justice was here in Waynesburg campaigning on behalf of Donald Trump. Michael McKenzie was there with the story.
On Thursday, October 17th, Donald Trump's campaign called on Jim Justice to make a stop here in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, to speak on behalf of the Trump-Vance campaign.
To be perfectly honest, I think Pennsylvania is everything. And President Trump and I have talked many times, and I'm really close to the family. I'm a real believer in what he stands for. I think this country is going in the wrong direction beyond belief. It's the sole reason that I'm running.
Pennsylvania is proving to be one of the more important swing states in the 2024 election, which is why Justice spoke to rallygoers and prospective voters about the importance of voting in the state.
We don't have any choice on what to do. We don't have any choice on what to do. You know, we've got to go vote. We've got to absolutely try to recruit our families and whatever to go vote. We got to do it.
Justice spoke to people at the rally and media afterwards about some of the more important issues facing Americans in the 2024 election, including things his campaign did in West Virginia that he considers a rousing success.
In West Virginia, You got to listen to me. But in West Virginia, I am a believer in a state that was cold, 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 cold. I am a believer, really and truly, that we should embrace all the energies, all the alternatives. But I am an absolute believer wholeheartedly that it's frivolous to think we can do without fossil fuels in this country today.
Justice also spoke about issues the Trump campaign has mentioned on their campaign trail, such as the decreasing rate in home ownership.
You got to get interest rates down, guys. I mean, that's all there is to it. When you're purchasing a home, and if it's a $300,000 home, you're paying 8% interest rates. You're paying $2,000 a month in interest rates. You know, because it's costing you 8% on $300,000 is $24,000 a year. It's costing you $2,000 a month in interest cost, and that's absolutely not retiring any of the principal at all. So we got to get interest rates down.
Reporting for WCTV, I'm Michael McKenzie.
Justice talked at greater length with reporters about policy issues at stake and why he campaigned a state over from his home state.
Over there, you have your own election going on, but you're here in Pennsylvania speaking to voters in Pennsylvania.
Right.
What brings the governor of West Virginia out to Pennsylvania in an election year where you're on the ballot?
Because to be perfectly honest, I think Pennsylvania is everything. And President Trump and I have talked many times, and I'm really close to the family. I'm a real believer in what he stands for. I think this country is going in the wrong direction beyond belief. It's the sole reason that I'm running. And in West Virginia, I'm going to win. I'm going to win going away. And what I need to do is be here to try to some way ensure or help to ensure that Donald Trump's going to win, because this nation's in real trouble, and we all know it. For crying out loud, you know, whether it be inflation's out of control, or the border's out of control, or crime's out of control, or whatever it may be, interest rates, trying to buy a home, or whatever. Absolutely, we need a leader that is a real president that has business knowledge, and with what's going on all across the globe, we ought to be scared, and I am, and that's why I'm here. I want to try to do anything and everything I can do to help.
Governor, can I ask, you say you're here to make sure that Donald Trump wins this state. He's only ahead in the polls on average by 0.9%, less than 1% in the polls right now. What's the message that his campaign needs to be talking about to increase that lead? What's the big issue that they need to touch on that they're not doing as much right now?
Well, to me, we ought to be focused and dialed in to exactly the economy, first and foremost. People are really hurting. I mean, that's all there is to it. In West Virginia, we've tried to cut taxes everywhere we could to try to help people in any way and every way we can. Pay raises, 5 straight years of pay raises. With all that, we've done stuff like that in West Virginia. From the standpoint of what I think our president should be doing is focus on what Kamala Harris and the Biden administration has done. I mean, I really believe this with all my soul. Probably the silliest thing of all times was Republicans beating the drum to try to get rid of Joe Biden as a presidential candidate and everything, because when we did that, really and truly what happens is the Democrats jumped on board, and then lo and behold, money starts flowing in like you can't imagine, and a party reinvigorated and everything, when we didn't really need to do that either. But with all in me, I really believe that all we should do is say, Kamala, judge yourself on your deeds. That's what I say all the time. Judge me on my deeds and everything. Well, Kamala, get judged on your deeds. And we look at the experience level of Donald Trump, I think he's your choice.
You talked a lot about energy and investing in energy and how you did that in West Virginia and how now the state is thriving, and the Trump campaign has talked a lot about energy and that being a key part of their campaign. What do you specifically believe are some of the first measures that we need to take as a nation if Trump gets elected on energy front and trying to build the economy back up from what the Trump campaign says has been one of the worst economies in a while under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Well, first of all, in West Virginia, as far as really doing a lot of investing in energy and everything, we've done that all along, you know. And as far, that didn't really change the footprint of where we went in West Virginia. We started a Roads to Prosperity program, and a real commitment to tourism and a real commitment to education. And lo and behold, everything started clicking and really going. We never forgot energy and everything, but we started in that direction. This country needs an energy policy so bad, an energy strategy. Where's the strategy? Where's the policy? You know, you have factions that are fighting all the time. I mean, it takes 4 or 5 years to get a permit to do anything almost. Factions that are fighting all the time, and the globe. Listen, in West Virginia, you got to listen to me, but in West Virginia, I am a believer in a state that was cold, 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 cold. I am a believer, really and truly, that we should embrace all the energies, all the alternatives. But I am an absolute believer wholeheartedly that it's frivolous to think we can do without fossil fuels in this country today. Absolutely, it's crazy. You know, why should we be blowing our legs off? And folks in India and China and on and on and on, why in the world do we have a $34 trillion deficit? You know, really, we abound in energy beyond belief. Can someday be that we will end up being able to do without fossil fuels? I absolutely believe it will. And we'll welcome that and embrace all the other alternatives. That's what we should do. That's what we've done in West Virginia. We've done exactly just that. But we got to have an energy policy. We got to have a strategy.
One of the other stances the Trump campaign has taken is if he gets elected, once again, they will impose a bunch of tariffs, specifically on China, on imported goods into the country. Understanding that the goal of that is to incentivize American manufacturing and American jobs and start to get a lot of things to be done within the country. Do you agree with that stance? And if companies continue to outsource production to other countries, what do you think needs to happen if they continue to import goods from China, which a lot of economists believe if they continue to import as many goods as they do with the tariffs that Trump would implement, that would raise prices and make the economy even worse for the average American?
Here's how I feel. China's not playing fair. That's all there is to it. We come to the field and want to play fair, you know, and basically we're playing with one hand tied behind our back. And China is absolutely playing with 4 additional players on the team, and we don't even know who they are, you know. And we're playing with 11 out there, they're playing with 15, and we're playing with our hands tied behind our back. That's not fair. And from the standpoint, China should know this country is the strongest nation in the land. However, we need to play in the sandbox with everybody, don't we? This nation, along with everybody, needs to play in the sandbox fairly. But we need to bring back so many things to this nation that we have outsourced because it was cheaper. You know, we need to bring back manufacturing to this nation like you can't imagine. Is one of the tools tariffs on nations like China that are doing things that we think are not fair? Sure it is, and everything. President Trump will make those right decisions.
Another thing that the Trump campaign has said they will make easier on Americans is home ownership. There's a decreasing rate of home ownership, specifically among younger Americans, younger couples and individuals. What are some of the things the Trump administration would do to make home ownership, specifically for younger Americans, easier as it was during Trump's first administration?
You got to get interest rates down, guys. I mean, that's all there is to it. When you're purchasing a home, and if it's a $300,000 home, you're paying 8% interest rates. You're paying $2,000 a month in interest rates, you know, because it's costing you 8% on $300,000 is $24,000 a year. It's costing you $2,000 a month in interest cost, and that's absolutely not retiring any of the principal at all. So we got to get interest rates down.
After that Jim Justice questionnaire, we just got word that Jim Justice has flipped the Senate seat in West Virginia and has won the Senate race there in West Virginia. When we return, Michael McKenzie has our first update of the night from the presidential race. You are watching WCTV's live election coverage.
This is so spice.
Cornucopia.
Ryan instead of train.
I love this show.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. Michael McKenzie here with you for the first update from the presidential election of the night. We do not have any results from Pennsylvania just yet. Polls are still to close in Pennsylvania, but a lot of states started closing their polls at 7 p.m. That's when we began getting our first real results of the evening, and a number of states have already been called by the Associated Press. Trump has already won 3 states in Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Indiana being 11 electoral votes, as you can see on the screen. Kentucky is 8. West Virginia is 4. Trump will carry 23 electoral votes before the polls close in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. You can see that Vermont belongs to Kamala Harris. She is carrying those 3 electoral votes from the state of Vermont. So 4 states currently in right now being called by the Associated Press, and that is what the Electoral College map looks like as of now. There are a number of states that are still reporting results where there are leads for either candidate. Those states haven't necessarily been called just yet, but a number of states where Trump and Harris lead. Donald Trump has the lead in Georgia, one of the very key battleground states, the first battleground state where polls closed. It has been back and forth through the first 40 minutes. Since the polls closed at 7 p.m., that currently belongs to Donald Trump, but again, it's been flipping all night. Florida belongs to Donald Trump, which many believed leaned Republican for the entire election cycle, as did Ohio. Donald Trump currently leads in Ohio, where his running mate J.D. Vance has been the senator for a number of years. South Carolina also is where Donald Trump currently has a lead. So those 4 states, Donald Trump has the early lead. Kamala Harris has the early lead in a number of states. Virginia and New Hampshire currently belonging to Kamala Harris. New Hampshire was considered up in the air a little bit. Polls leaned Harris, but showed that Trump had made up ground that a number of Republican candidates hadn't necessarily made up in recent election cycles, but right now Kamala Harris has the lead there. She also has the lead in Virginia, another state where Trump thought he might make up some ground and make a surprise, but so far it has been majority Kamala Harris. Good returns for her in the state of Virginia. That's our first update from the presidential election tonight. We'll be back with many more throughout the evening. When we come back on WCTV's live election coverage, Anthony DeFilippo has a look at sports.
Have you ever wondered what the life of a Yellow Jacket newspaper looks like? Why don't we show you? Straight from the printing press to our editor's desk into the newsstands, you can pick up your own copy of the Yellow Jacket newspaper in Buell Hall, the Stover Campus Center, or any of our other newsstand locations on campus. When you get your very own copy, you can read it at your own leisure anywhere around Waynesburg. You can kill time waiting for your next class to start by reading up on campus news and our op-ed pieces. You can even take your copy to the Beehive and catch up with friends as you read up on the latest regional stories. Looking for a peaceful place to read now? Head on over to the Everly Library. Sit back, relax, and catch up on the latest in Waynesburg sports. Oh, and if you didn't know, we are also digital at theyellowjacket.org.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. I'm Anthony DeFilippo with your sports update. Tonight, the only team in action is the Valorant esports team. Speaking of esports, AJ Smolin, the Rocket League team captain, was named one of Waynesburg University's Athletes of the Week. He tallied 16 goals, 7 assists, 17 saves, and 12 demolitions. The other Athlete of the Week came from the newest program on campus, the women's wrestling team. Farron DeWitt got Waynesburg's first victory in their history at East Stroudsburg this past Sunday. Tomorrow brings us volleyball's second to last game of the season against Grove City at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. Coverage can be found on the Waynesburg University Sports Network. Benicio DeFalco and Ethan Spazarski are on the call. The match starts at 7 p.m. Basketball finally begins this weekend with the women playing in their first game Friday night against Pitt Greensburg. Tip-off is in the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse at 7. Saturday brings a full slate with a mix of the remaining fall sports and winter sports. First, the men's wrestling team travels to Washington and Jefferson for the W&J Invitational. That kicks off at 9 a.m. Football plays its final home game of the season against Teal at 1 p.m. That will be on the Waynesburg University Sports Network as well. Seth Adams and Meg Berry have the call. Waynesburg comes into its final 2 games 3-5. They have beaten the Tomcats in 5 of their last 6 matchups. Men's basketball kicks off their 2024-25 campaign that night in Stevenson, Maryland against Stevenson University. It is a 1 o'clock tip-off. Finally, volleyball plays in St. Vincent at 4 p.m. That is their final match of the season. For Greene County football, every team was eliminated either last Friday or before the regular season ended. The one team standing from the Tri-County South is California. The Trojans have a tough matchup against Clairton, who went undefeated in the regular season and only allowed 21 points all year. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. As we head over to the pro sports landscape in Pittsburgh, starting with the Pirates, Dreyer Triolo was awarded the Gold Glove at the utility position. That's Triolo's first hardware at the major league level. He won the minor league Gold Glove award in 2022. Triolo beat St. Louis's Brendan Donovan and Los Angeles's Kike Hernandez. The Penguins had a successful 3-game homestand, winning games against Anaheim and Montreal on Thursday and Saturday, respectively. Sidney Crosby was named one of the NHL Stars of the Week with 3 goals, including the game winner in both wins. Pittsburgh will begin a 3-game divisional road trip tonight against the New York Islanders, and it's actually already underway. Alex Nedeljkovic gets the start in goal. Tonight also marked the trade deadline for the NFL. We saw Marshawn Lattimore get dealt to the Washington Commanders in perhaps the biggest move of the day. The Steelers were able to get in on the action with a pair of moves. They finally landed their wide receiver and Mike Williams of the New York Jets. The Steelers gave up a 2025 fifth-round pick for the pass catcher, mostly known as a deep threat. He signed a 1-year deal with New York this past offseason. Pittsburgh also upgraded its defense with a depth move for Green Bay Packers outside linebacker Preston Smith. The compensation for that one, a 7th-round pick. The 31-year-old comes to Pittsburgh with 68.5 career sacks. The Steelers take on Marshawn Lattimore, Jaden Daniels, and the Washington Commanders on Sunday at 1 p.m. That's all for sports today. I'm Anthony DeFilippo. Dean Shazer has a Greene County election update when we come back right here on WCTV's live election coverage.
This just in, a request has been for voting to be extended at Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, after there has been a reported 7-hour wait time for voters to get through the polls and to actively vote. Again, that's in Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, so we might have even more delay on the results for Pennsylvania to come in later tonight if that is secured and if the request is extended for voting time, and that is according to CBS. So we'll see, and we'll give you more coverage on that. But until then, we're going to take a look at a Student Speaks event that happened a couple weeks back, and it was presented by the Waynesburg University Stover Scholars. Each one of the scholars presented the candidates with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and what they were fighting for and who their vice presidents are and things of that nature. We'll take a look at that right here on WCTV.
A group of 538 total electors, and the candidate needs 270 of those to win. Each state's amount of electoral votes depends on the amount of senators, which is 2, and the amount of their representatives, which is based on the population. States vary on how they elect their different electors for each state, so in Pennsylvania, may be different than how West Virginia does it. So here's some current national polls. Right now, it is seen in this national poll by 538 that Harris is actually ahead by 1.8 points over Trump. However, when we go to the next slide, you'll see that Trump, in simulations, is actually favored to win the election 51 out of 100 times compared to Harris's 49 out of 100 times. And again, this is done by 1,000 different simulations that 538 has done and got these results.
So I will be discussing the different battleground states, which are more commonly known as swing states. Battleground states are states that have the possibility to swing either way in the election based on historical precedent. They are characterized by having very small margins between which party wins each state in the past couple elections. Because their tendency to swing in either direction. Candidates for the election tend to focus a lot more of their energy on these states. Currently, these states are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And out of the total electoral college, they total up to be about 17.3% of the total college. So first, we'll obviously talk about Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the largest of the swing states, having 19 votes, which is about 3.5% of the total electoral college. In the 2016 election, Pennsylvania swung 1.1% Republican, and in the 2020 election, Pennsylvania swung 1.2% Democrat. And according to Real Clear polling, Trump is currently at 0.6% in Pennsylvania. Next is Arizona. It has 11 votes, which is 2% of the total electoral college. In 2016, it swung 4.1% Republican. In 2020, it swung 0.3% Democrat. And in the current polling by Real Clear polling, Trump is ahead 1.5%. Next is Georgia, which has 16 votes, which is 3% of the total electoral college. In 2016, Pennsylvania swung, Georgia swung 5.7% Republican, and it swung 0.2% Democrat in the 2020 election. In Real Clear polling, Trump is currently at 2.2%. In Michigan, they have 15 electoral votes, which is 2.8% of the total electoral college. In the 2016 election, they swung 0.2% Republican, and in the 2020 election, they swung 2.6% Democrat, and currently Trump is ahead 0.2%. North Carolina has 16 electoral votes, which is 3% of the electoral college. They swung 3.8% Republican in 2016, 1.4% Republican in 2020, and they are currently ahead, and Trump is currently ahead 0.8%. Nevada has 6 electoral college votes, which is the smallest out of the swing states. It is 1.1% of the total electoral college. In 2016, they swung 2.4% Democrat. In 2020, they also swung 2.4% Democrat, and currently Trump is ahead 0.7%. Wisconsin is the last of the swing states, having 10 electoral college votes, which is 1.9% of the total electoral college. In 2016, it swung 0.9% Republican. In 2020, it swung 0.6% Democrat, and currently Trump is ahead by 0.2%, which is very close.
So then moving on to different Senate and House races that are currently up for grabs. And the reason this is important is because this is kind of how the president can get legislation through Congress. So if the president has a majority in both House and Senate, then it is easier for them to move along their agenda. If they only have one compared to the other, it makes it harder. If they don't have either, again, even harder. So currently, Senate races to watch, the ones that are leaning Democrat are Nevada and Arizona. Arizona is open due to Senator Kristen Sinema retiring, and the other one is in Nevada is Roslyn. The toss-ups are Michigan, again, that seat is open, Ohio, Brown, Casey in PA, and in Wisconsin, Baldwin. The ones that are leaning Republican at the moment are Montana with Tester, Fisher in Nebraska, and Ted Cruz in Texas. So in the House, we also have a bunch of different toss-ups. Here are the closest ones on both sides, Democrat and Republican. You'll see that a lot of the California Republicans actually have a lot of seats that are potentially toss-ups. And then on the Democrat side, we have a couple ones from PA. So again, this really just shows how this election is extremely close between the two parties and how this could really go either way. So will either of these houses split? Because of the amount of seats that are tossed up in the Senate currently, it is a little bit more dangerous for Democrats to currently lose the Senate. So unless they're able to retain those seats, Republicans are likely to gain control. Now in the House, because Republicans have more seats that are up to toss up, Democrats have a greater opportunity to regain control of the House. However, again, this is really close, and what we could end up seeing is that the president who is elected will still have that split House where the Senate is one party and the House is the other. So here are just a couple more election outcomes. On the left, we have Kamala Harris's best ability to win the Electoral College. So you'll see that she needs these 3 states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is extremely essential in this election for whoever would want to win. And here on the right, Donald Trump, again, we see Pennsylvania being highlighted, and then North Carolina and Georgia are also 2 extremely important states to win.
We're in a very interesting point in this country. So the things we have to consider is the history and the trajectory of our country. So we have 2 very unique candidates. We have Kamala Harris, who can potentially become the first female president of the United States. On the other hand, we also have Trump, who can become the first president of the United States to serve 2 terms separately, since I believe William Howard Taft.
That was Cleveland.
Cleveland, sorry. Thank you, Dr. Shannon. Another thing we have to consider is that we have one candidate who favors government expansion, as you can see, and another one who seeks to minimize it. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, you all know my name is Devin. I'm a junior political science major from the great state of West Virginia, formerly Pennsylvania. So the choices that we have is a new way forward or the chance to make America great again. Now, the Make America Great Again platform is premised on a return to common sense. What's that mean? A return to how America used to be. How we think about our victories, our challenges, and our failures, and how we come at it. Like World War I, World War II, all the way to sports and entertainment, like Michael Jordan, and whenever Michael Jackson walked across the stage, which I'm sure that many of you have not experienced it, but I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube. So the first common sense thing is to seal the border. To seal the border, you obviously need to build the wall, right? That's something that Trump always talks about, build the wall. But how's he going to do this? He's going to reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, where he has the Mexican government sending troops to the Mexican side of the border to secure that end. Then he's going to send our troops from the Middle East and Europe to help to assist the Border Patrol. The common sense to end inflation and unleash American energy. Like you're out here and say, drill, baby, drill, right? We're gonna drill for the liquid gold, right? But not only that, he needs to end inflation by stopping the illegal migrants that are pouring into the country. And lastly, he wants to end the war in the Middle East to stop the overspending with the military in wars that we actually shouldn't be involved in. Then he wants to create the greatest economy. So as you can see, everything that is in the Make America Great Again platform kind of snowballs and overlaps with one another. So if we do this, then this will happen. If we do this, and so on and so forth. So with all these things, it'll create the greatest economy ever again. And to cut taxes for workers. So one thing that we've all heard that Trump says is no tax on tips. He wants to completely eliminate taxes for the restaurant and hospitality workers. He also wants to get rid of the payroll tax. Not only that, he wants to reinstitute his Trump tax that cut taxes on a lot of middle-class companies and corporations. And then to protect seniors, to expand Medicare, and also, as I said, the snowball effect, right? The overlapping is going to give us more money to invest into our seniors. And we stop this wasteful spending. And then a government of, by, and for the people. So it's a return to responsible government that puts Americans first, that doesn't put Americans last. And then we have Kamala Harris. So similar to Trump, she wants to cut taxes for working people. However, she wants to do this in a different way. So she wants to expand the child tax credit to middle class families, and she also wants to create a new initiative to where you have a new child tax credit that will help to pay for the cost for families for a child's first year of life by giving them a $6,000 tax break at the end of the year. Lower healthcare costs. So she wants to expand Joe Biden and Barack Obama's policy with the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Help America buy a home and afford rent. I'm sure we've all heard this. Again, that she wants to give people $25,000 to invest in a home, and what I've seen, that's the only initiative that she has to achieve that. Lowering costs by investing in American energy. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean investing in oil and oil production. She wants to get this done by investing in green energy, your solar panels, your wind energy. And she also wants to, in a way, level the playing field with the amount of production that we have here for oil. And then retired dignity. So very similar to Trump, she wants to expand Medicare. She wants to expand Medicaid as well. And she also wants to expand the Affordable Care Act to achieve this as well. All right, so the last thing that I want to address is abortion. So Trump and Harris, they both have similar ways on how they approach abortion, and you can see they're both for choice, right? They just go about it in two different ways. So Trump wants to do it by state action, whether it be from a referendum of the people or it be by state statutes. And then you have Kamala Harris, who wants it to be federalized to recodify the Roe v. Wade through the Supreme Court or through public policy, whether it be through Congress or through executive action. But then the question becomes, is that constitutional?
Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to Student Speaks. My name is Caroline Poole, and assisting us is Alex Conestro, Devin Kelly, and Cindy Kratzis. So today we're going to be covering the 2024 election. We just want to say, please be respectful of everyone's opinions. This is an open environment, and all thoughts are welcome. We will also be having a question and answer time at the end. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm going to be introducing the candidates. So right away we have Donald J. Trump. So Donald Trump is an American businessman, politician, and media personality. He served as the United States 45th president from 2017 to 2021. He is 78 years old, and he's from the home state of New York. And also he's representing the Republican Party, as many of you are probably familiar with from his past term. However, Trump has selected J.D. Vance to run as his representative VP in the 2024 election. He's a United States Senator representing the state of Ohio, and he's an American politician, author, and Marine veteran. Again, he's a Republican nominee for the presidential election, and J.D. Vance is 40 years of age. All right, so now representing the Democratic side of this 2024 election, we have Kamala Harris. Many of you are familiar with her as she is now currently the Vice President under the Biden administration. Biden has previously selected her to run and given her his endorsement for the 2024 election. A little bit of her background is she represented California in the U.S. Senate from 2017 to 2021. She also served as the State Attorney General from 2011 to 2017. Again, just to mention, she is currently the Vice President, but also running for presidency. Now, Kamala Harris has picked Tim Walz to serve as her VP. So a little bit about Tim Walz. He's an American politician, former educator, and retired United States non-commissioned officer. He's the 41st governor of Minnesota, and he served on the House of Representatives from 2007 to 2019. He again is the Democratic nominee for VP in the presidential election, going and teaming up with Kamala Harris. Tim is 60 years of age, so right now those are our candidates that are running. We have Trump and Kamala as the two main presidential figures with their VPs listed.
Welcome back into live election coverage. Quickly, before we talk more about the election, we just want to give you guys some updates of what's going on across the nation. So earlier today, there were bomb threats that were going to various locations in Georgia. Because of those threats, 12 voting places in the state of Georgia have been extended in their time in which they can vote, simply because of those threats, the voting places were shut down for a couple of hours to make sure that everything was safe. But the FBI did verify that those threats were coming from were coming from Russia via email. So 12 voting areas in the state of Georgia will have time extended, so it will be a little bit longer until we get those results coming in as well.
But for the other results around the United States, a big jump as the polls for most of the eastern coast have closed at 8 o'clock, time currently being 8:06. For former President Trump at 8 o'clock, the states of Oklahoma, Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida have all been called in his favor. That gives him 90 electoral votes, adding on with Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia already. And then when we move over to Vice President Harris at 8 o'clock, she won Maryland, Massachusetts, and the District of Columbia, bringing her total to 27 electoral votes. In Vermont, going around in different places that we've seen so far in states that have not been called yet. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, recounting of 3,100 ballots is going to be done after they believed early voting and mail-in ballots have not been done properly, in quote of some caution around it. So with that, they believe that they will not be done counting until Wednesday, sometime around this time tomorrow. And then also with that, there has been protests already beginning down at the White House with pro-Palestinian protesters outside in the lawn of the White House.
And that's all we have for the current updates. We're going to try to be very quick with the updates for you all, so we keep you informed as to what is going on around the nation. But we're going to send it to a break, and when we come back, we're going to be sitting down with Jaden Hawk for a quick interview about other things in the election.
Welcome to the Eberly Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the print collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need us to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
This is so spice.
Cornucopia. Try instead of train.
I love this show.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lucin, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Welcome back to WCTV live election coverage. I am Meg Berry, and here with me is Joey Shirillo, just giving you live coverage really quickly. If you're just now tuning in, to give you coverage of what states have already turned. So far, Kamala Harris has 27 votes with the states of Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, and the DC has also gone with her as well. And for Donald Trump, he has 90 votes with Oklahoma, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida. So that is all the current coverage that we have. We have been having some issues with the polls in Georgia. 12 locations have extended voting times there due to the threats earlier today in the state of Georgia. And on top of that, there will be recounts of votes in Milwaukee as well. So it may be a little bit longer to get the votes in, but we will continue to give you as fast updates as we can to keep you all informed. But WCTV also got a chance to sit down with Waynesburg University faculty member Jaden Hawk for an interview, and that's coming up right now.
We're sitting down now with Jaden Hawk for our WCTV live election coverage in 2024. Jaden, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely, Michael. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everything the students are doing to put on this incredible night of coverage.
All right, our first question for you is, what are some of the changes you want to see in the next 4 years? Regardless of who gets elected tonight, who do you want, or what do you want to see changed in the next 4 years?
Two of the biggest things to me, I'll say the biggest one to me is stability. As a soon-to-be parent, I'm worried about different things. Where's food? Where's gas? Where's groceries? Where are these things going? What are we doing about them? And so it's economic policy and stability are the biggest things that I kind of want to see addressed or changed in the next 4 years. It's been a while since COVID. It's now 2024, and I'm still seeing higher gas prices than I kind of remember from beforehand. Food hasn't really seemed to have gone down much. Ground beef, chicken, when I'm at the grocery store looking for this stuff, it's still a little high for me. So honestly, I would say economic stability and overall stability of just kind of bringing everything back down a bit from the very high charged atmosphere that we've come to embrace post-COVID. I don't think anybody wants it, but we're all fighting at the same level of I think, like I said, political charge.
Now, when looking at the ballot and deciding who you're going to vote for, what do you think is the most important policy, to you at least, when casting your ballot?
It would be domestic economic. We've seen a lot of foreign aid going out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, in moderation. And I think that how sides are moderating that is very important to me. Again, regardless of who's getting elected, what are you doing with what we have? And are we kind of throwing it away? We just had hurricane relief, and I know from my friends and from people I talk to, a lot of people are upset that we're sending a lot of money overseas, and now where's the money for the domestic? And so I think, domestic economic is my biggest focal point right now.
Now, you mentioned you have a child on the way, due date coming up soon here. Yes. We got 3 questions for you about things that would be allowed or encouraged in schools. First, do you believe public prayer should be allowed in schools?
Allowed, yes. Mandatory, no. No. We have freedom of religion in our country. That's one of the great things about living here. And so if any student of any religion wants to sit at their lunch table and pray to whoever it be, I want that right as a Christian. I work at a private Christian university. I love and embrace this right that I can go down to my lunch table, I can pray over my meal, I can enjoy it in peace, I can speak with others, I can engage with students about their religion. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion is very important. Again, watching how we're applying it. So I don't believe that we should have any form of mandatory before school prayer. We should not force students to line up around the flagpole, all hold hands and say a prayer to Jesus, because that's disrespectful to people who have other beliefs. But not allowing any at all is also disrespectful to anyone with beliefs. So I believe it should absolutely be allowed, but not encouraged from the government level.
Now, this was another discussion we're going to ask that came up a lot during COVID and 2020 when everything was really shut down. Do you believe that schools should provide free meals for their students?
Yes, and that's difficult because that is a concern of how you're balancing it. I went to Baldwin-Whitehall. School District, lovely school, 1,400 some children, and we were in a nice area. So we had a good sports program, had a great theater program, and yes, we had a good after-school lunch program for athletes and during school lunch program for kids that needed it. And there was good ways at my school to assess this. You could talk to guidance counselors, and we had a good way to do it. Again, in talking to other friends from other schools, talking to some of you guys now that I work here, some schools that are not as fortunate in terms of tax funding, it's a lot harder to figure out where to do this. And the other problem is if you go to Baldwin-Whitehall, you have 1,400 kids. The general tax bracket is in a decent upper middle class area, we'll say. And then if you go to a more struggling area, Carrick was nearby me. Carrick, lower income tax bracket, so you have more kids need the lunches to begin with, and on top of that, you have less tax money to subsidize this with. So yes, I believe that they should be there, but the difficulties have to be recognized across the board. From the administration, you have to recognize the difficulties so that you know what you're doing at the end of the day. And as a supporter of it, you have to know the difficulties so that you don't ever come off flying too hot saying, why don't we have this for my kids when they have it here? Well, again, you have to look at the fact that we're a very large country, and some things will take time and a lot of care to get done correctly.
Now, our last question regarding our public schools: should discussions in classrooms, in class, engineered by teachers about politics, should those be banned or should those be allowed in public schools?
So, having to call a hardline answer, it's allowed.
Okay.
But I see where the concern comes from because I had teachers who did both. You had teachers who set it up saying, all right, today we're watching Joe Biden versus Kamala Harris. Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, two people from the same party. We're watching these two candidates debate each other. If it's Bernie and whoever, we're going to watch a 15-minute debate. You take notes about whatever you like. They'll even give us a questionnaire beforehand. What did Bernie say about this economic policy? What did Trump say about this? Biden say about this? And then at the end, that teacher opened it up and said, all right, you've heard from the candidates. Now let's hear from you. Why do you care about that? Why is this issue important to you? How do you think we can reasonably implement it? And then, of course, you have other teachers who say, well, did you hear what the Democrats said this weekend, what the Republicans said last weekend? Did you hear about X, Y, or Z? And they'll clearly put their own spin into it or prejudice. I had great teachers that could remove that entirely. And I had teachers that would flat out tell me, I am not telling you who I'm voting for. I'm your history teacher. It would be wrong of me to influence you in that way. I'm here to teach you. I love that professor. I cannot remember his name. But he said, I'm here to teach you how to think about this, not tell you what to think about it. And I think that is exactly what you want from a teacher.
Now, there's been a lot of talk by both campaigns and by mainstream media about the divide between the two parties and the divide, and each party accusing the other of trying to divide the country in half. Do you believe there are any issues that Republicans and Democrats can agree on, that there's some sort of middle ground within the two parties?
Absolutely. I think most people really could come to this middle ground if it's going to kind of sound tired, but if we all would sit down and actually talk about it, there's a lot of things that with coworkers, students, and coworkers at other jobs that you disagree about something, you kind of go back and forth about it, talk about it over the day, and you come to realize that what's important to me is important to me for these reasons, and what's important to you is important to you for those reasons. So if you can come to the middle, find out what your reasons are, you can find out what you're doing. And so, again, I think if you ask most people, not if you ask the parties, because if you ask the parties, you're going to get a different answer. But if you ask most people flat out, what's important to you right now? What can we agree on? I think most people can agree on we are economically hurting. We are not in a great, stable place. The job market doesn't feel as good as it used to. I'm very happy to still be employed. I love it here with Waynesburg University, of course. But I have a buddy who lost a job recently that the search has been hard. And he has good experience. He has great experience with difficult and niche operating systems that should, like, senior level developer. And he's not having luck right now. So I think most people could just simply agree on the fact that we're in a tough spot. We're in a tough spot, and none of us are looking to start a fist fight over this. Nobody at the bottom level on Facebook is like looking for this argument to get worse. It feels like it's coming from somewhere else, as if it's more fun, or, well, it definitely sells more news whenever everyone's mad at each other.
Yeah.
Emotional headlines are very popular now.
Yes, they are. Now, our last question here, this hasn't been something that's been debated a lot by the two presidential candidates, but over 30 states have introduced legislation to eliminate daylight savings. Now, it is not allowed yet by any state to take further action on that because Congress does not allow any of the states to be on any different time other than daylight savings, changing the clocks twice a year. Even Pennsylvania State Representative Ryan McKenzie has introduced legislation to eliminate daylight saving time. Do you agree with that viewpoint of eliminating daylight savings time, or would you keep the changing of the clocks twice a year?
Now, Ryan McKenzie, no relation?
No relation. No. The last name is actually spelled differently. He's got an A after the M. I do not have an A after the M.
That's crazy.
There is no relation, but he's got good taste in the last name, if I'd say so.
Well, for daylight savings time, I'm fine with getting rid of it. From what I understand, that's something that I don't have as much information on, maybe, but I would, as far as I'm aware, we can probably get rid of it at this point. Its original purpose was for farmers, as I understand it, and with the changing in the year, when we as a society build our day around, we changed that to accommodate farmers, which good at the time. Clearly been using it for a while. But I don't think the modern world has much need for it at this point. And I think it is mainly disruptive because it takes time to get used to, and then you switch it again, it takes time to get, and it's arguably pointless. I'm fine with eliminating it.
All right, well, that's all we have. Thank you very much for joining us, Jaden Hawk, here on our WCTV 2024 live election coverage.
When we return, Mia Hankins joins us with some more live election update of the PA Senate races. But until then, we're going to send it to a break. And when we come back, we're going to give you more live election coverage.
Hey, how you doing? Excited to be here. Hey, how's your week been?
It's been okay.
Nice. Hope everything else outside of basketball is good.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. I'm Mia Hinkins, and we're going to do a little look into our Senate race at the moment. Those polls close at 8 p.m., so we have a little bit of an update for you. Currently at Senate, Democratic candidate, Bob Casey is leading at 70% with 190,699 votes, compared to Republican candidate Dave McCormick at 27.98% with 76,097 votes. At Attorney General, Democratic candidate Eugene DePasquale is at 68.44% with 184,174 votes, compared to Republican candidate Dave Sunday at 29.42% with 79,164 votes. For Auditor General, our Democratic candidate Malcolm Kenyatta is at 66.8% with 176,928 votes, compared to Republican candidate Tim DeFore at 31.29% with 82,877 votes. And finally, at Treasurer, our Democratic candidate Aaron McClelland is at 67.23% with 178,743 votes, compared to Republican candidate Stacey Garrity at 30.98% with 82,352 votes. So currently, we do see Democratic candidates leading for Pennsylvania. However, we will see a little more later with an update. That's all we have for now. Stick around for Deanna Hernandez and the Business and Entertainment Update.
Welcome to the Eberly Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the print collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
Okay.
This is so spice.
Cornucopia.
Trying instead of train.
I love this show.
Welcome back. I'm Deanna Hernandez, and before we head into our business and entertainment news, I wanted to do a quick update. Currently at University of Pennsylvania, there is a 6-hour wait at the polls. Heading into business and entertainment, an elementary class runs a full election campaign for cookie candidates. In a tasty effort to learn about democracy, Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
The time has come, America, a day of decision, where the future lies in but a singular choice between 2 vastly different cookies. Wait, what did you think I was talking about? Oh, right, the whole presidential thing. Well, members of this particular elementary electorate in California are far too young to vote for real, but are learning the ins and outs of America's sacred franchise using opposing cookie candidates Oreo and Chips Ahoy. Leading up to their chocolatey choice, roughly 45 third graders at Laurel School Upper Campus have learned about the popular vote, the Electoral College, filled out voter registrations, made competing campaign posters, and will ultimately cast their votes in a homemade ballot booth. The democratic process can be confusing and even a little daunting, but as they say, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And now to something we can all agree on, a breath of fresh air from paradise. That's what communications company Italy Comunica says they've packaged up for tourists that want to breathe in the beauty of Italy's spectacular Lake Como destination, even after leaving. For $11 a piece, the company says they've canned 400 milliliters of, quote, 100% authentic air collected from the scenic destination. It may seem like a kooky concept straight out of a Mel Brooks movie, But it's not even the first time it's been done. One UK company has been selling bottled gusts of their homeland for years. Italy Comunica says it's not just a souvenir sniff, but a collectible keepsake as well. Whether it's a marketing home run or just a big old whiff, only the customers knows. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
For nearly 2 months, Boeing workers have been on strike. Yesterday, they agreed on a new contract with the company to return to work, and they are proud of the decision. Brady Wakayama has the story.
It's been more than 50 days since machinists at Boeing decided to go on strike. Although the picket lines were mostly empty on Sunday, Andre Johnstone is still here, outside of the Renton factory.
Our union motto is "We cower to no one," and I'm living by that.
Machinists we spoke with are anxious for the vote on Monday, with a new offer on the table that involves a 38% wage increase over 4 years. That's 3% higher than the last offer. And a $12,000 ratification bonus is also being proposed. The deal does fall short of the 40% wage increase the union originally asked for, and it doesn't include restoring pensions.
We've been asking for the pension.
Welcome back into WCTV's live election coverage. We are experiencing a bit of technical difficulties, but that does not mean we have more to talk about. So, leading into the presidential election as to what is going on currently, the two states of South Carolina and Arkansas have been called in favor of former President Donald Trump. With that South Carolina vote that came in at 825, that put him at 99 to 27 electoral votes against Vice President Kamala Harris. And at 830, when Arkansas was called, that led him to 105 total electoral votes with 27. If you look over to the Senate side of things, when we look over to that side, as we got from Mia Hankins, The Senate race right now for Pennsylvania is looking to lean more to the Democratic side of things. If you look to the other parts of the state, of the states that we are looking at, for Connecticut, that has leaned to the Democratic side of things. That has put another Democrat into the Senate race. In Indiana and Florida and in Tennessee, those have gone to the Republican candidates that have run from them. For Massachusetts, that is the Democratic side. And also for Vermont, that has gone to the independent Senate runner, not Republican nor Democratic, independent Senate runner. Right now, the Republican Party is leading the Senate at 42 to 32. If you look over to the House is currently at a 54 to 28 with the Republican seats. 218 seats are still yet to be called within the state of Florida. 20 seats have been called for the Republican Party and 7 seats have been called. With that, that's going to wrap us up here for our quick little rundown. We are back here with Deanna Hernandez for the Business and Entertainment Update.
I'm Deanna Hernandez. An elementary class runs a full election campaign for cookie candidates. In a tasty effort to learn about democracy, Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
The time has come, America, a day of decision, where the future lies in but a singular choice between two vastly different cookies. Wait, what did you think I was talking about? Oh, right, the whole presidential thing. Well, members of this particular elementary electorate in California are far too young to vote for real, but are learning the ins and outs of America's sacred franchise using opposing cookie candidates Oreo and Chips Ahoy. Leading up to their chocolatey choice, roughly 45 third graders at Laurel School Upper Campus have learned about the popular vote, the Electoral College, filled out voter registrations, made competing campaign posters, and will ultimately cast their votes in a homemade ballot booth. The democratic process can be confusing and even a little daunting, but as they say, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And now to something we can all agree on, a breath of fresh air from paradise. That's what communications company Italy Comunica says they've packaged up for tourists that want to breathe in the beauty of Italy's spectacular Lake Como destination, even after leaving. For $11 a piece, the company says they've canned 400 milliliters of, quote, 100% authentic air collected from the scenic destination. It may seem like a kooky concept straight out of a Mel Brooks movie, but it's not even the first time it's been done. One UK company has been selling bottled gusts of their homeland for years. Italy Comunica says it's not just a souvenir sniff, but a collectible keepsake as well. Whether it's a marketing home run or just a big old whiff, only the customers knows. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
For nearly 2 months, Boeing workers have been on strike. Yesterday, they agreed on a new contract with the company to return to work, and they are proud of the decision. Brady Wakayama has the story.
It's been more than 50 days since machinists at Boeing decided to go on strike. Although the picket lines were mostly empty on Sunday, Andre Johnstone is still here, outside of the Renton factory.
Our union motto is "We cower to no one," and I'm living by that.
Machinists we spoke with are anxious for the vote on Monday, with a new offer on the table that involves a 38% wage increase over 4 years. That's 3% higher than the last offer. And a $12,000 ratification bonus is also being proposed. The deal does fall short of the 40% wage increase the union originally asked for, and it doesn't include restoring pensions.
We've been asking for the pension for months and years. We don't feel like they're addressing that part of the union whatsoever.
The union representing the machinists posted on its Facebook page on Saturday, encouraging members to vote yes, saying in part, the decision to end this strike is right where it needs to be, in the membership's hands. Your entire bargaining committee believes it is time to settle this strike and move forward. It's unclear how the vote will go, but what is clear is Johnstone wants the leaders of the union to do more.
I feel like the rank and file people in the union are doing their utmost, yes, but our leadership and bargaining committee have not done enough.
The 6 voting locations in Western Washington will be open throughout the day Monday until 7 p.m., with 4 of the sites opening as early as 7 a.m.
My message to Boeing is trust the workers. We want the best for this company.
Reporting for King 5 News, I'm Brady Wakayama.
Seeing the Northern Lights is on the top of many people's bucket lists. Last month, many viewers across the country were able to see the incredible sight. But if you weren't one of those lucky people, you have plenty of more opportunities to see it in the coming months. Jen Sullivan has some tips for travelers in today's Consumer Watch.
It's one of the most majestic natural phenomena, Aurora Borealis, commonly known as the Northern Lights. And between now and early 2026, viewers have the best chance to see it.
We are getting the best views of the Northern Lights in decades.
Expedia Group travel expert Melanie Fish says she's recently seen a surge in people booking trips specifically to see the Northern Lights. And according to vacation rental company Vrbo, which recently released a phenomenal list, seeing the Northern Lights is #1, with 61% of travelers wanting to see it in 2025.
The demand for trips to see the Northern Lights is really, phenomenal.
So why is this a good time to see the Northern Lights? NOAA says it's driven by solar activity, and when space weather activity increases and bigger, more frequent storms occur, the aurora can be seen, and that's exactly what's happening now. And viewers are getting to see it in some unexpected places, like New York City.
You're going to have to be patient because they don't just appear on demand.
Fish recommends these tips for travelers. The further north you go, the better chances of seeing the Northern Lights. Track the lunar calendar and book your trip when the moon is smallest. Have a cancellation policy in case you need to make changes due to weather. And the best viewing state in the U.S. is Alaska. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Hundreds of Oasis fans fell victim to ticket-selling scams ahead of the band's reunion tour next year. UK lender Lloyds Banking Group says fans lost an average of $449 to fraudsters. Some lost as much as $1,300. According to Lloyds' analysis, more than 90% of scams began with ads on social media. The bank says scammers posted about tickets that don't exist and then collected money via a bank transfer. In general, Lloyds said customers have shelled out more for Oasis tickets than any other concert in the past 3 years. October's predicted blockbusters, Joker, Fouladux, and Venom, The Last Dance, failed to meet expectations. So the studios are pinning their hopes on a November trifecta. David Daniel has that and more in today's Hollywood Minute.
Hollywood is hoping Thanksgiving will bring some magic reminiscent of last year's Barbenheimer. Box office analysts are looking at Wicked to conjure up an opening weekend worth $80 to $85 million when it debuts November 22nd. And Gladiator 2 is expected to haul in $55 to $65 million the same weekend. 5 days later, Moana 2 sets sail, charting a course for $100 million or more over the 5-day holiday weekend.
All the things I wish I could do, these guys are doing. This guy's very sharp. He hasn't figured us out yet, he will.
All we know is what we found out from the neighbors. And the general consensus is they're angels.
The Boondock Saints is returning to theaters for its 25th anniversary. The cult classic action thriller starring Willem Dafoe, Sean Patrick Flannery, Norman Reedus, and Billy Connolly hits the big screen on Thursday, November 7th and Sunday, November 10th. Locations and tickets at iconicreleasing.com. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That is all for business and entertainment. When we return, Gene Stager joins us with Greene County election updates.
Ha! Gotcha!
Yeah, what are you doing? We're on in 30 seconds. Thank you, Corey. Where have you been?
Just around.
Okay.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
Welcome back to WCTV. Channel 14 News' live election coverage. I'm Dean Shazer with you for Greene County now as we take a look at the 14th Congressional District. Chris Ziadis, the Democratic candidate, leads by only 4%. It's a 52-48 lead, but he's only in the lead by a mere 145 votes, give or take. And, well, Guy Reschenthaler is his Republican candidate that he's running against. And then hop over to the 50th Legislative District. The Democratic and the Republicans are split by 3 votes. It's Drew Ross Manco with 1657 and Bud Cook, who held the 49th Legislative District seat for the past few years, leads by 3 votes with 1660. Only 15% of total voters voted in Greene County so far compared to the 2020 election between Joseph Biden and President Trump. It was around 23,000 is the number I believe I gave to you guys at the beginning of my first segment when you saw me earlier. There was only around 3,500 total presidential votes put in. 3,300 total right now. Kamala Harris leads former President Trump, by 143 votes. And while you take a look at the surrounding counties, right under Allegheny County, they're usually red, according to history, since 2004. But the 2024 currently, they're all blue. Washington County, Greene County, all blue. They were red last time. Allegheny County leads by over 100,000 votes in that blue category, as Kamala Harris in Greene County currently leads. There's the numbers right there. I said by that mere 4% mark, and that's about all I have for you in Greene County right now, as we're going to send it back over to the desk with Meg Berry and Joseph Chirilla.
And just a quick update for you all. Kamala Harris has officially won the state of Delaware, and we also have a little bit of an update on the Senate side of things. So, Joey, what amazing history has just now been made?
Yes, and with that, Lisa Blunt Rochester, the Democrat out of Delaware, is the first black woman senator to be elected in the state of Delaware. So some great history being made here in a very historic 2024 election. When we look to the House, right now those numbers are sitting at 65 representatives within the Republican side and 32 within the Democratic side. But with that, more to come here on WCTV's live election coverage. When we come back, a house fire on the date of Halloween here in Waynesburg coming up.
Welcome to the Eberly Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the Print Collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need us to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
Welcome back to WCTV. On Halloween, a house fire broke out in Waynesburg. Multiple ambulances and fire trucks were at the scene, and nobody was hurt. Seth Adams and Dean Shazer have the story.
Halloween night in Greene County, Pennsylvania took an unexpected turn during the final stretch of trick-or-treating. Around 5:45 p.m. on the corner of Rich Hill Street and 2nd Avenue, local firefighters battled a blazing house fire. 4 members of the Healy family in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, were in the house when the fire occurred.
You never know, it's going to happen to somebody, and it's bad, really bad. And thankfully, we'll get everybody out. And they still don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter. We're all out safe, and we'll pull together as a family and get it taken care of.
All 4 members, a mother and her 3 children, survived without any major injuries. Members of the Waynesburg community surrounded the neighborhood in complete shock and disarray.
You describe the community in a few brief words. Caring, loving, people that care about each other. We want to keep it that way. We can see how it works.
Volunteer firefighters put out the fire between 10 and 11 p.m. as they fought the fire for over 4 hours.
As firefighters are coming from this corner of the house to try to blast water into that attic because the top of the fire truck is unable to reach the flames within the attic at the current position they are in. The fire was fought from several angles while also damaging neighboring houses. From WCTV, Channel 14 News, I'm Dean Shazer.
Results have been flowing in throughout the night, but many battleground states have said that their results may not be announced before tomorrow morning. Laura Aguirre reports on some issues at polling stations across the country and how long it could take to count these ballots.
Women's reproductive rights.
The economy, more than anything.
Border's huge for me.
I want our country to heal. I want to move past this.
Cornerstone issues driving massive voter turnout in several states today. In battleground Pennsylvania, Philly's district attorney says he's seeing more aggressive behavior than in the past, with his office investigating about a dozen calls from polling places. He's got a message for troublemakers.
We do have the cuffs. We do have the jail cells. We're not playing. F around and find out.
A couple Pennsylvania counties reported minor technical malfunctions with some voting machines, but voters could still cast their ballots. A judge granted one county, Cambria, extended hours to accommodate.
I am completely confident in our ability to run the elections fairly, and all of our voters' ballots are going to be counted.
Georgia had its share of phoned-in threats today. In one case, voting was briefly disrupted at 2 locations, bomb threats that were found to be non-credible.
We identified the source, and it was from Russia. They're up to no mischief, it seems, and they don't want us to have a smooth, fair, and accurate election.
An election that may take a while to tally. Election organizers urge patience.
It's hard to predict when people will be able to wake up and know the result out of Pennsylvania.
I just want to assure the American public that it will happen, but it will be sometime after midnight.
The nation's last polls don't close until 1 a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday morning in Alaska. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
That's all we have for now. When you come back, we're going to have more live election updates with Michael McKenzie and the presidential race, and just keeping us up to date as more states and more ballots are counting. But stay tuned here on WCTV for more live election coverage.
Have you ever wondered what the life of a Yellow Jacket newspaper looks like? Why don't we show you? Straight from the printing press to our editor's desk into the newsstands, you can pick up your own copy of the Yellow Jacket newspaper in Buell Hall, the Stover Campus Center, or any of our other newsstand locations on campus. When you get your very own copy, you can read it at your own leisure anywhere around Waynesburg. You can kill time waiting for your next class to start by reading up on campus news and our op-ed pieces. You can even take your copy to the Beehive and catch up with friends as you read up on the latest regional stories. Looking for a peaceful place to read now? Head on over to the Everly Library. Sit back, relax, and catch up on the latest in Waynesburg sports. Oh, and if you didn't know, we are also digital at theyellowjacket.org.
This is so spice.
Cornucopia.
Trying instead of train.
I love this show.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. Michael McKenzie here with you for another update on the presidential race. A number of states have been called since the last time we spoke for both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Looking for Donald Trump, he, since we last spoke, has had South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama called in his favor. You can see the Electoral College map there. It's a little bit different. Results just came in about a couple of seconds ago, so there are a few extra states that have gone to Kamala Harris as well. She owns Connecticut, Massachusetts, Delaware, Maryland, Illinois, which was called just a couple of seconds ago, Rhode Island, and New Jersey. So that's a look at the Electoral College map right now. Donald Trump at 111 and Kamala Harris at 71. But obviously we're paying attention to some of those battleground states right now. At last check, in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, the lead belongs to Kamala Harris, but in North Carolina and Georgia, the lead belongs to Donald Trump. And an interesting development right now, Virginia is currently led by Donald Trump in a Democratic stronghold for a number of years, a state Donald Trump thought he would steal last year. He didn't end up doing so. Kamala Harris won that by, or not, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won that by 5+ points. Kamala Harris was favored in the polls by about 5 points, but Donald Trump currently with the lead in Virginia. A potential development, but right now the blue wall has been intact for the majority of the night for Kamala Harris. She has the lead in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Trump with the lead in Georgia and North Carolina. Polls still yet to close in Nevada and Arizona. The other two key battleground states we're paying close attention to tonight. Once those polls close, if they close before we go off the air and we get results, we will have those results for you. But again, the current Electoral College race, 111 for Donald Trump as he currently leads Kamala Harris, who has 71 Electoral College votes. But again, the recent calling of Illinois has closed the gap for Kamala Harris between herself and Donald Trump in the Electoral College race. That's going to do it for this update on WCTV's live election coverage. When we come back, more updates and looks at the 2024 general election.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Thank you, Michael, for that update. We sat down with Alex Conestraro, another Stover scholar, to talk about the election. Welcome back into WCTV's election coverage interviews. I'm Joe Shirilla. I'm joined by Alex Conestraro here, a Stover scholar and junior here at Waynesburg University. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Let's get right into it, shall we? So for one of my first questions, what do you want to see changed within the next 4 years, whether it's presidential, legislative, anything like that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things that I would like to see changed within the next 4 years. I think one, kind of starting on a culture issue would be good. So looking at how we're having dialogue with one another and being able to be more accepting of one another's opinions and being able to kind of acknowledge that we can be wrong at times. I think that's a very good start so that we can continue to work towards different policy. And in that realm, it would just be what Congress and state legislatures are deciding, more bipartisanship, which is just both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, working together to get things pushed through. So I think that's the main thing I would like to see in the next 4 years, the next few terms as well, because once we can finally get agreeing and agreeing to disagree and being able to understand that, then we can get more done.
Right. So you brought up policy. So my next question leads into that. What is the most important policy for you when voting?
I think it's a range of policies more so. It comes down to, I'd say, the economy, and then a hot topic one. So right now that could be immigration, and then I'm more of on the environmental side. So looking at different policies with energy, so maintaining a healthy environment while also maintaining energy independence in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I kind of look when it comes to the environment and energy. However, with the economy, it just comes down to who's going to put the most money into my pockets and not take it away through rising costs like groceries and gas and these different day-to-day expenses that we have. And then lastly, like I said, with immigration, it's just one of those hot button issues during the time. So the border currently is, I think both sides of the aisle would 100% agree that there's a disaster at the border and a lot of problems need fixed down there. So what candidate has a better approach to solving that issue?
Yeah. And you brought up groceries and how, the prices have gone on upward, downward throughout the past few years. And with this, should schools, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, maybe even to the collegiate level, should they provide free meals for their students?
I think looking at K-12 specifically, it is a very good thing that they have. I came from a county where you didn't have to pay for a school lunch. So that free meal program that was through my county, not specifically my state, because I know other counties in my state did not have that. I saw it as a great thing because you have kids that come in that are less fortunate and can't afford to, say, pack a lunch every single day. So I do think that free meals in schools is a great thing to have and something that should be pushed. And I think that's just an issue that it kind of comes down to, such as like healthcare and like basic necessities like water and everything.
Right.
It's something that should be in schools, in my opinion.
Agreed. So with this, we already talked about how some at the border, both Republican and Democrats, acknowledge that there's a problem. Sometimes they don't really agree on it. Are there any other issues that you believe Republicans and Democrats both agree on, maybe just not how to execute it as well?
There's many issues, and I'm going to try to think of one specifically. I can give an example I think would be better. So this summer I interned in Senator Joe Manchin. He's a West Virginia senator, in his office in Washington, D.C. So I got to kind of see some behind the scenes that an everyday person wouldn't see. And I am very happy to say that a lot of the work that goes on in Congress between Democrats and Republicans is bipartisan work, and they actually agree on, I'd say, 75 to 80% of what is being done. It just comes down to those hot topic issues where they have disagreements on. So the example I can give is I sat in a committee hearing where they wanted to kind of take grizzly bear populations off the endangered species list, and it's something that both sides agreed with. It comes down to different legal terms and
right.
a bunch of other just a mess there. but no, they do come together on a lot of issues, and specifics like that are just one of thousands that they actually agree on. Again, it's just those hot topic ones like abortion, immigration, those specific policy areas.
Right. So with that, we're currently discussing politics here at our school, and we have the wonderful opportunity to do so. But should discussions about politics be banned in schools, whether that's from kindergarten to 12th, like we talked about with the school lunches, or in the collegiate level, anything like that?
I definitely have more of a free speech view on this, I'd say. So I don't think they should be banned at all, and if anything, I think they should be encouraged in schools. Again, going back to my previous answer on trying to get people to come to agree that we can disagree, I think that is a great first step. If we can teach children how to actively be involved in political discourse, I think that would help us more towards this idea of being able to disagree with each other and take that without it becoming violent. So yeah. I definitely think it should be in schools for sure.
In schools, yeah. Next question, is it necessary to raise the minimum wage at all?
I think it depends. I do like having it up to the states where you have a federal minimum wage and then the states can kind of go up or not down, but can go up from there. So I do think it needs to be increased in some capacity. I'm not sure if I agree necessarily with like the $15 minimum wage, but I do think starting it at, say, $10 and possibly adding in a clause that makes it incremental. So over the next X amount of years, we'll increase it to this amount. So say we want to get it to 15. I think that's a better solution, because then I think that that'll be more of a steady, because the fear with raising the minimum wage just outright to 15 is that prices will go even higher. So I think possibly, I'm not an economic expert by any means, but I think that raising it incrementally over a set amount of time to eventually get to, say, a $15 minimum wage is more of the approach. And that, I don't think that would be over a year, even 4 years. It might be over a decade or so. So I do think eventually it does need raised, but even then employers nowadays aren't offering minimum wage always. I mean, my first job out of high school, or the summer before college, paid I think $13 an hour, which in West Virginia the minimum wage is $8.75. So I know a lot of those entry-level jobs aren't really just paying minimum wage anymore because it's not as attractive.
Yeah. That's all I have for us. Is there any other thoughts or comments you'd like to add?
I think I'm good. Just looking forward to hopefully some changes in the future in American politics, and hopefully ones that are for the better. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you very much for joining me up here. That's going to do it all for us with this election coverage interview.
Welcome back, guys, into the WCTV live election coverage. If you're just now tuning in, I'm Meg Berry, and joining me is Joey Shirillo, and we're going to give you guys a quick update as of about, I would say, 8:45, 9 o'clock. Some of the other updates that have been rolling in on the Republican side. Donald Trump has won North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Nebraska, but not the congressional state. But what has Kamala Harris won in that time period as well?
Within that time period, when 9 o'clock, when a lot of these central states had their pollings closed, Illinois, as Michael McKenzie stated, just as he was on, that flipped to Kamala Harris there. Also, New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Jersey, all eastern states there, right in the New England area, have all been counted for Vice President Kamala Harris. That brings her electoral total to 99, so that is against Donald Trump's current 120 lead. But one little story just for some sports fans out there.
Real
and also
quick,
those.
Before you do the sports story,
Please.
More that just came in. Donald Trump now at 137 votes, with Louisiana and Mississippi securing those. So it is 137 to 99 so far. And before you get into the little fun sports story as well, Cambria County here in Pennsylvania had to extend their voting hours to 10 p.m. tonight. So that poll will not close until 10 p.m. because they were having issues earlier today with scanning the votes and the votes actually going through. So that has been extended to 10 p.m. So it doesn't look like we're going to be getting the Pennsylvania results by today. We can most likely see those tomorrow morning into the evening. But let's hear this fun story, Joey.
So with this fun little sports story, a gentleman has been kicked out of his voting place earlier today after, when he was in the voting booth, he was playing the ESPN NFL draft selection chime every time he filled out a circle within his ballot. So just a little fun story for those sports fans and election fans as we are here on WCTV's live election coverage.
And more live election coverage is coming in. It is official that Donald Trump has won Ohio, and it is looking so. According to the CBS or NBC news that we are following, we are looking at two separate pollings that are coming in right now. We're looking at the Associated Press results and NBC. According to NBC, it is official that Donald Trump has also secured Texas, but we're waiting for that to match up with the Associated Press results. So according to Associated Press, Donald Trump is winning 137 to 99, while according to NBC, Donald Trump is winning 154 to 30. So not a lot of re-updates. We'll continue to try and keep that as updated as we can. But, Joey, that is a phenomenal story. Just a lighthearted one for this really serious day in America.
Not for this gentleman that was trying to vote. I mean, next time, now you know. Don't use the NFL chime while you're in.
Tricks for everybody at home. Don't do that.
But that is going to do it all for us here on the WCTV live election coverage for this update. Coming up, we're going to have Dean Shazer rejoin us here for an update on the Greene County elections.
This is so spice.
Cornucopia.
Trying instead of train.
I love this show.
Have you ever wondered what the life of a Yellow Jacket newspaper looks like? Why don't we show you? Straight from the printing press to our editor's desk into the newsstands, you can pick up your own copy of the Yellow Jacket newspaper in Buell Hall, the Stover Campus Center, or any of our other newsstand locations on campus. When you get your very own copy, you can read it at your own leisure anywhere around Waynesburg. You can kill time waiting for your next class to start by reading up on campus news and our op-ed pieces. You can even take your copy to the Beehive and catch up with friends as you read up on the latest regional stories. Looking for a peaceful place to read now? Head on over to the Everly Library. Sit back, relax, and catch up on the latest in Waynesburg sports. Oh, and if you didn't know, we're also digital at theyellowjacket.org.
Welcome back. It's still Dean Shazer, and I'm still covering Greene County. Last time we checked in, it was narrowly favored in the Democratic Party was Greene County, according to the 14th Congressional District, the 50th Legislative, and the presidential election. Now, all those shifted. Reschenthaler takes the lead over Zionis by around 2,500 votes. Bud Cook, who was the 49th legislative seat, is up for the 50th legislative seat, has a big margin. He's up 2,700 votes currently, give or take. And President Donald Trump has taken the lead over Vice President Kamala Harris by another 2,700 votes. So that's all we have after what has been a historical county of voting red for the past 20 years since George H.W. Bush in 2004 remains red currently. So that's the update on Greene County across all three boards. It's still red, and that's most likely what it's going to be as the trend takes. This was Dean Shazer, sending it back to Megan and Joe.
Thank you, Dean. Break, and when we come back, we're going to have Seth Adams joining us again to give us a quick update on the weather.
Gotcha.
Hey, what are you doing? We're on in 30 seconds.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
Welcome back into the live election coverage. I'm Seth Adams. We're going to take a little bit of a breather, a little bit of, and we're going to give you the next 5-day forecast. It has been a beautiful day here in Waynesburg with a high of 78. It's around 65, lower 60s right now, and it's going to drop and stay around that 60-degree mark and be clear throughout the night. Tomorrow we'll see a drop with a high of only 68 degrees with a 50% chance of rain throughout the day. However, the low will only be 62. Thursday, we see another comfortable day with a high of 66 and partly cloudy with a low of 48. Friday will be sunny with a high of 62 and low of 41. Saturday, which will be senior day for Waynesburg University football, so show your support, show up. Waynesburg University Sports Network, going to show it, do something, watch it, do something. But it's going to be partly cloudy with a high of 59 and low of 40 with partly cloudy skies. Finally, Steelers Sunday will be a rainy day with a 50% chance of rain and a high of 61 and low of 48. That's all I got for you guys. Back over to the election coverage.
Thank you, Seth, for that weather update. When we come back, we're going to be sitting down with Sydney as she's going to give us some more updates about the election and things to look forward to. But before we head to a break, it is confirmed, according to Associated Press and their live active polls, that Texas has officially been won by Donald Trump. So according to Associated Press, the current poll ratings is 177 Trump, 99 Kamala Harris. But that's all we have. We're going to send it to a break, and when you come back, we're going to be sitting down with Sydney Kratis for more on the election.
Welcome back into WCTV's election coverage interviews. I'm Joe Shirillo. I'm joined by Sydney Kratis here, freshman Stover Scholar on campus here at Waynesburg University. So we're very excited that she's able to sit down with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, it's fine and dandy. I can't go any better, can't go any worse. So let's get right into it here. So for the first question, what do you want to see changed within the next 4 years?
I think policy-wise, a lot of things could change, but I think it's the overall approach to them that are most important. I think people have stopped thinking about respecting other people they can't understand in politics. And I think for any kind of political, cultural situation to get better, we have to think more about respecting people we don't understand.
Yeah. What is the most important policy for you when voting?
I think personally right now I'm most worried about foreign policy. There's a lot of really important issues that are coming up in this next election, but the most important for me is the urgent issues that are like right at our doorstep right now. And I think specifically, I think politicians are too worried about controlling how our allies act. So I'm looking for politicians that kind of want a more hands-off approach and are going to let our allies do what they think they need to do, and we're just going to support them.
Yeah. So kind of moving into some more specific area questions for this one, what is the strongest argument in favor of the separation between church and state?
I think a lot of people get their morality from, like most people get their morality from some kind of church or some kind of personal belief. But I don't know about you, but I don't want the government determining that or enforcing that on me or anyone else. I think that the most important thing of keeping church and state separate or to have, so the government uses its specific duty of maintaining civilization than telling us how to act and how to think.
So we just talked about separation, kind of going into the more unity area. Do you think there are any issues that Republicans and Democrats agree on?
I think in general, right now, everyone can agree that we're far too separated, and because of this aggressive separation in politics, we can't get anything done. It's difficult because we think so group-minded to actually compromise, which is the thing that our country is built on.
Is discussion of politics, should it be banned in schools?
Absolutely not. I think one of the things that people are missing currently is that they don't know how to have those kind of difficult political conversations. And because they don't have experience from it when they were younger, they don't know how to do it now. So if from a young age in schools and with their family, people were having these kinds of discussions, they'd be much more prepared for them now.
In one area that I know that you're very fond of, this question, should taxation laws be amended to require rich people and companies to pay more taxes?
I think that a lot of people, when talking about the policy of taxes, don't really understand what's going on in our tax code, specifically that we already have both progressive and regressive taxes. So there already are taxes such as investment on income and rental earnings that are already a progressive tax that the rich have to pay more. I think what I would say is an issue is I think regressive taxes, those that based on proportions such as sales tax, affect the poorer. So instead of focusing on taxes that affect the rich, I think we should be focusing on how some of our everyday taxes disproportionately affect people that can't afford them.
And then kind of staying in the same area of money, is it necessary to raise the minimum wage?
I mean, I think we've all seen how expensive everything has gotten recently, and cost of living has shot up in the past 10, 20, even 5 years. So as costs are going up, I think the wages that people are being paid to live their everyday lives should be going up as well. Should it be going up to some of the really high numbers that people are bringing up? Maybe not, because a lot of these jobs that are paying minimum wage or maybe working as a server, those people also are working additional jobs. At least for me, I've worked multiple jobs that are paying me minimum wage. I just work a couple of them at a time.
So that's all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, comment on?
I just think it's really important that as we approach this election and even going after it, that everyone takes time to discuss with people that might have different opinions than themselves, so then we can get a broader picture of politics.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Sydney, thank you very much for joining us here. It was a pleasure. That's going to do it all for us on the election coverage interview here on WCTV. Welcome back into WCTV's live election coverage. Just for a quick update on what some things are looking at according to the Associated Press right now with Minnesota, Wisconsin, Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia. Those are all in favor right now of former President Donald Trump. Nothing is confirmed, but those polls are leaning towards the Republican nominee. When we look to the Democratic nominee of Vice President Kamala Harris, New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a little bit of Maine is also being favored in the Democratic side of things. But for now, we're going to throw it to a break right as we're going to have Mia Hankins come up to give us an update on the Senate race in Pennsylvania. Welcome back into WCTV's election.
Ha! Gotcha!
What are you doing? We're on in 30 seconds.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Welcome back into WCTV's live election coverage, I'm Mia Hinkins, and I have some more news on our Senate races. A few updates for you. The Arizona Senate race currently leans Democratic. Senator Chris Murphy wins the re-election in Connecticut Senate race, and Senator Marsha Blackburn wins re-election in the Tennessee state race. The Republicans currently need to win 2 extra seats to flip the Senate, and the Democrats need to flip 4 seats for majority in the House. Over to the Pennsylvania Senate race. Greene County, where Waynesburg resides, is currently 67% leaning red, and 64% of those votes are in, according to NBC News. When it comes to the Pennsylvania Senate race, currently for the Senate, Democratic candidate Bob Casey is at 58% with 866,845 votes, while Republican candidate Dave McCormick is now at 39% with 585,602 votes. So we've seen a drastic change there. Attorney General Democratic candidate Eugene DePascal is at 57% with 808,882 votes, while Republican candidate Dave Sunday is now at 41% with 867,980 votes. Over to our Auditor General race, Democratic candidate Malcolm Kenyatta is at 56% with 760,948 votes, while Republican candidate Tim DeFore is at 41% with 553,286 votes. Finally, for our Treasurer race, Democratic candidate Aaron McClellan is at 56% with 760,637 votes. And finally, we have our Republican candidate Stacey Garrity at 41% with 558,280 votes. That is all the updates I have for your Senate race. I'm Mia Hinkins.
Thank you, Mia, for that great update on the Senate race. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but when we come back, Michael McKenzie is going to rejoin us, and he's going to give us a live update on the presidential election.
you ever wondered what the life of a Yellow Jacket newspaper looks like? Why don't we show you? Straight from the printing press to our editor's desk into the newsstands, you can pick up your own copy of the Yellow Jacket newspaper in Buell Hall, the Stover Campus Center, or any of our other newsstand locations on campus. When you get your very own copy, you can read it at your own leisure anywhere around Waynesburg. You can kill time waiting for your next class to start by reading up on campus news and our op-ed pieces. You can even take your copy to the Beehive and catch up with friends as you read up on the latest regional stories. Looking for a peaceful place to read now? Head on over to the Everly Library. Sit back, relax, and catch up on the latest in Waynesburg sports. Oh, and if you didn't know, we are also digital at theyellowjacket.org. Have you ever wondered what the life of a Yellow Jacket newspaper looks like? Why don't we show you? Straight from the printing press to our editor's desk into the newsstands, you can pick up your own copy of the Yellow Jacket newspaper in Buell Hall, the Stover Campus Center, or any of our other newsstand locations on campus. When you get your very own copy, you can read it at your own leisure anywhere around Waynesburg. You can kill time waiting for your next class to start by reading up on campus news and our op-ed pieces. You can even take your copy to the Beehive and catch up with friends as you read up on the latest regional stories. Looking for a peaceful place to read now? Head on over to the Everly Library. Sit back, relax, and catch up on the latest in Waynesburg sports. Oh, and if you didn't know, we are also digital at theyellowjacket.org.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage for the 2024 general election. Michael McKenzie with you for another update on the presidential race. More results starting to come in, and Donald Trump is nearing 200 electoral votes. He currently sits at 178. Since we last spoke, he's gained a number of states and some big ones. He gained 3 states with 3 electoral college votes in Wyoming, North Dakota, and South Dakota. But the 2 big ones for former President Trump was Texas with 40 electoral votes, a state he expected to carry. Early returns in Texas were favorable for Kamala Harris, but Donald Trump is now projected to take that state, according to the Associated Press. He is also projected to take Ohio, which within the first hour of the polls closing in Ohio, seemed like Kamala Harris had a very close margin to former President Trump. She had a lead at multiple moments, but the Associated Press has also called the 17 electoral votes in Ohio for the former president. Kamala Harris also had some good news coming her way with the Electoral College. She gained 2 states in New Jersey, the 14 electoral votes in New Jersey, and the 28 electoral votes in New York. New York was a state the Trump campaign thought that they could try to flip. Obviously, they had the Madison Square Garden rally, which they considered a big success, but the Trump campaign not able to flip New York red. That is going to stay blue this time around. The 28 electoral votes in New York go to Kamala Harris. And if we look at the Electoral College map, 178 current electoral votes to former President Trump, which just moments ago he gained a 4th Electoral College vote in Nebraska. Obviously, with the 2 congressional districts in Nebraska, they distribute their electoral votes a little bit differently. Former President Trump has gained the first 4 electoral votes in that state, which he was projected to do, which is why he currently sits at 178. Kamala Harris currently sitting at 99 electoral votes, just about to break that 100 electoral college vote threshold. A number of states are closing their polls at 10 o'clock, West Coast states that have normally leaned Democrat in the past. So Kamala Harris and the Democrats hoping for good returns here when the polls close at 10 o'clock. But so far, the early returns have been great for former President Trump, and he currently leads in a number of key states. He has taken the lead in Wisconsin for the first time tonight. He currently has the lead in North Carolina, Georgia, and surprisingly, Virginia. Again, a Democratic stronghold. We've talked about it all night, that Virginia usually leans or goes heavy towards the Democratic side of things in presidential elections. Well, right now, Donald Trump has a slim lead over Kamala Harris in the state of Virginia. Kamala Harris with a lead in 2 battleground states, in the state of Pennsylvania at last check, according to the Associated Press, and in Michigan at last check. But the majority of Battleground states that have closed their polls, 5 have closed their polls so far, 3 of them leaning for the former president, along with the Democratic stronghold. 2 battleground states currently leaning for Kamala Harris. Harris needs to make up some ground, but again, hoping to do so with some of the West Coast states closing their ballots soon, specifically the 55 electoral votes in California. Those will be big for the vice president once that poll closes at 11 p.m. Eastern time. But right now, 178 electoral college votes for former President Trump, 99 for the vice president Kamala Harris. Trump with the lead right now and a lead in key battleground states. That's all I've got. We'll send it back to the desk for more WCTV live election coverage.
Thank you, Michael, for that very in-depth and very helpful update on the presidential race the side of things. We're going to throw it to a break, but when we come back, our very own Dean Shazer had an interview with President Lee and talking about the election and what changes he wants to see in the United States in the next 4 years. And just a quick update before we head into the interview that Dean Shazer conducted with President Lee. A quick update, New York voters, obviously Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris won New York. That is officially in. But an update as of literally 6 seconds ago, New York voters approve a constitutional amendment protecting abortion rights. And we talked about it earlier, Joey, that is something that New York was truly fighting for, but who were some of those other states that were fighting for the abortion rights that Kamala Harris was pushing through her campaign?
With that, Arizona, Colorado, Maryland, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New York, and South Dakota, but also the state of Florida, in which they have voted to defeat that amendment. So the amendment for the abortion law has been struck down. That one will not move forward. In the other election and different laws that they will be voting for throughout different states, there are 16 states and 1 district, District of Columbia, voting for elections and voting rights, stuff like that, different things that are going to propose to their elections, how the different elections are going to work. Then only 1 state is voting on immigration laws. That would be Arizona, right down there at the Mexico-United States border. There are 3 states fighting for marijuana laws. North Dakota and South Dakota are currently still figuring out their voting for that. But for Florida, they also defeated that measure to legalize marijuana in their state. In California, they are doing a marriage voting law that is to take down their proposed Proponent 8 that is within their constitution. Currently, they are voting for that to be struck down. And then within minimum wage areas of voting, 5 states are voting for that within Alaska, Arizona, California, Massachusetts, and Missouri.
Yeah, so a lot of different things that kind of line together with according to what we see here on the polls as to what candidate lines up with which state they want to vote for. And I mean, that's just common sense, but we do understand that this is a very important election year simply because of how big the swing states are, especially in our home state of Pennsylvania. So it was very crucial for people to vote this year. But another update that just came in, Wisconsin, earlier when Michael McKenzie was in the studio, it was being won over by Donald Trump. It is now switched back over to blue. So within those swing states on the East Coast, it's currently Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania are run by Kamala Harris, but Georgia, North Carolina, and shockingly, Virginia has the upper hand, is Donald Trump. He has the upper hand in those states, so it's going to be a little while. We already mentioned with the delays in Pennsylvania that it's going to be quite a bit until we get those results in. Just a quick reminder, if you guys are just now tuning in, multiple counties in Pennsylvania had lines at the polls anywhere from 6 to 7 hour waits, and in Cambria County there was voting issues early today, so because of that they have extended the voting period until 10 p.m. And outside of Pennsylvania, Georgia also had to extend the voting hour as well. But that's all the updates we have for you currently. We're going to throw it to a break, and when we come back, Dean Shazer will be here with President Lee in an interview about the election and more things to come.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Here with the president of Waynesburg University, Douglas Lee. Now we have a few questions on the election for you. First, we're going to start off, and I just want you to express your feelings to the people on how important it is to register to vote in America.
It's absolutely important. I mean, it's the fundamental premise of our democracy is that individuals have an opportunity to choose their leaders. So it's very important to register, very important to vote.
Now, coming off of that, what are some of the changes that you would like to see across America, not only policy-wise, but as a whole, over the next 4 years?
Well, obviously, I'd like to see more Waynesburg University students get involved in our system of government. I think so many of them here have the right idea, this idea of faith, serving, and learning. Using that to make the world a better place, I think, would be wonderful and significant. So my own personal opinion as president of Waynesburg University is more of our students involved in the process. I'm very proud of the way our students engage in a very civil and meaningful way to have conversations, even though they have differences, and I'm very proud of the way they do that.
And lastly, when looking at policies, what is the number one policy that you look for when casting your vote?
Oh, wow. I would say that it depends on the election here and what is happening not only in the country but in the world. I think, we are citizens of the United States of America, but America is so involved in foreign policy and in the world, so it could be a number of things depending on the time. In the 70s, it was really about the economy. And, in the 80s, then it became more about, national defense. So it changes over time. It's not an easy question to answer, but it's a very good question.
Thank you for that awesome interview with President Lee, the president here of Waynesburg University. But now Dean Shazer rejoins us here in the studio. Dean, what's the update with Greene County and the active polls?
Yeah, two places at once, as you saw me in the interview, but now we're back on camera. Thanks, Meg. Chris Ziadis of the Democratic Party is overall getting mashed in Greene County. Reschenthaler has about a 5,200 vote lead over Ziadis, while Bud Cook has about the same margin, this time around 5,500 votes over Drew Ross Manco. Bud Cook and Reschenthaler, for the last 3 years, Reschenthaler has held the 14th congressional seat, while Bud Cook has held the 50th legislative seat, both of them being Republicans. And with that trend being, Donald Trump is leading Kamala Harris in Greene County. When we get back, we're going to be talking about our final update for this live election coverage on WCTV, Channel 14 News. This is all I have for you tonight. Appreciate you. This was Dean Shazer.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Welcome back into the WCTV live election coverage. If you're just now tuning in, I'm Meg Berry, joined by Joey Cirillo. And if you're just now tuning in and you haven't been keeping up to date, according to the Associated Press polls coming in, Donald Trump leads right now 178 votes to Kamala Harris's 99. But looking at a smaller scope, Pennsylvania has been a very important state in this election. That's no surprise to anybody who is a voter in this state, with the bombardment of political ads that we've had, and due to the fact that Kamala Harris and both Donald Trump have been spending a lot of time in this Pennsylvania area. And it's because it's the biggest swing state this year. With 19 electoral college votes, it is extremely important to win the state of Pennsylvania. But to break it down for you all, we are currently getting live coverage of each state, or each county, excuse me. And here in Greene County, where Waynesburg resides, there is 93.5% of the votes have been counted, and Donald Trump leads in Greene County 71.1%. to Kamala Harris's 27%. And we move over to Fayette County, the county right over. Only about 42% of the votes have been counted, but Donald Trump also leading in that county. Westmoreland County, the county above us, only 30% of the votes have been counted so far. Donald Trump again leading in that state by about 30%. And then moving over to Washington County, again, right next door to Greene County here, 41% of the votes have been counted there. Donald Trump leading 57% to Kamala Harris's 41%. But the big areas in Pennsylvania are obviously the cities, which is within Allegheny County, Philadelphia County, and in Dauphingham, which is where Harrisburg resides. So currently in those three counties, Kamala Harris is in the lead. In Allegheny County, she is in the lead 63% to 35%, with only about 55% of the votes being counted. In the county where Harrisburg resides, only 27% of the votes have been counted, so still a lot of counting to do there. Kamala Harris leads 66% to Donald Trump's 32%. And in Philadelphia, Kamala Harris leads by a big margin of 80% to Donald Trump's 18%. But again, only 34% of votes have been counted in Philadelphia County. So a lot of counting to do. And again, if you're just now tuning in, Pennsylvania is going to take probably until tomorrow morning to count all of these ballots, simply because there's been a lot of honestly technical issues that have been out of control for Pennsylvania voting polls. There was an issue this morning in Cambria County that pushed back voting until 10 p.m. so those in Cambria County can wait to vote until 10 p.m. And on top of that, two big colleges here in Pennsylvania, Lehigh and Penn University, the Ivy League in the middle of the state, long waits to vote. And because of that, voting has been extended in the state of Pennsylvania. So the biggest swing state is going to keep you on the edge of your seat for this election, as we're not going to get coverage for a bit, probably into tomorrow, for the true results of that. But Joey, on the other end of things, what do we have going on in the House right now?
Currently, according to NBC, they have the Senate currently. For the Republican side, they are leading with 44 candidates being nominated, and then on the Democratic side, they are leading with 34 candidates represented. The Republican Party does need just 7 more for their control of the Senate. When we look over to the House side of things, 218 House representatives have not been announced quite yet, but for the other side of things, the Democratic side has 80 nominations confirmed, and with the Republican side, they have 124 confirmed. Looking at it right now, most likely the House of Representatives will fall into the control of the GOP. But again, time will tell. As we can tell, majority of voting will be finished counted by tomorrow morning. A lot of the western states, their polls will not close until 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, we are going to send it over to a quick break, as we're going to have Mia Hankins and Michael McKenzie join us back up for one final update.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what are you doing? We're on in 30 seconds.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hankins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly. Welcome back into WCTV's live election coverage. I'm Mia Hankins here for our final Senate race updates for you. To start off, we have 44 Republican seats as of right now, and 34 Democratic seats. Over to the Pennsylvania Senate, currently Democratic candidate Bob Casey is at 52% with 1,088,448 votes, compared to Republican candidate Dave McCormick at 45% with about 936,000 votes. Over to Attorney General, Democratic candidate Eugene DePascal, who has been leading the entire night, is at 50% with 1 million votes, while Republican candidate Dave Sunday is at 47% with 961,000 votes, almost at 962,000. Over to our Auditor General race, Democratic candidate Malcolm Kenyatta is at 50% with 1 million votes, and Republican candidate Tim DeFore is at 48% with 966,720 votes. And then down to our treasurer, which is definitely our closest race of the night, we have Democratic candidate Aaron McClellan at 49% with 1,364,000 votes, and Republican candidate Stacey Garrity at 48% with 979,932 votes. So we'll see how that one ends up. Currently, Democratic is leading all of these Senate races. That's all the updates that I have for you guys. Coming back up, we will have Michael McKenzie with our final presidential election update for the night.
Welcome to the Eberly Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the print collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
Welcome back to WCTV's live election coverage. Michael McKenzie with you for the final presidential election update of the night. Not too much has changed. One state has been called recently, though, for Donald Trump, the state of Missouri. Its 10 electoral votes will belong to Donald Trump. We'll take a look at the electoral college map right now. The states in dark blue are the states that have been called for Vice President Harris. The states in dark red are the ones that have been called for Donald Trump. But Missouri, you can see it's in bright red right now. That was called about a minute ago for Donald Trump, so a very recent call by the Associated Press. Donald Trump is now at 188 electoral college votes. Vice President Kamala Harris is still at the 99. But you see the bright blue for Wisconsin and its 10 electoral college votes, the big battleground state. That just recently, about a minute ago, flipped back in favor of Donald Trump. Wisconsin has been teetering all night. Pennsylvania and Michigan, though, 2 key states, a part of that blue wall that Kamala Harris wanted to keep intact for the Democratic Party. Those still blue. As of now, she leads, but in all the other states, surprisingly, again, Donald Trump still with a lead in Virginia, has the lead in North Carolina, has the lead in Georgia. So those battleground states currently belonging to the former President Donald Trump. The 2 battleground states currently going to Kamala Harris, at least where we stand right now, is Michigan and Pennsylvania. But as of now, a lot of outlets are projecting that Donald Trump will win a good number of the battleground states, and it is becoming increasingly likely that the former president will take the election. But again, we still got a lot of West Coast state results to come in, specifically in Arizona and Nevada, 2 of the 7 key battleground states everybody was talking about before coming into the day, and that everybody has been beating the drum on those 7 battleground states. Still 2 that the polls haven't closed in those states yet. They'll close here at 10 or 11, so they'll close recently. They're closing soon, but again, the results, we may not know the final results about those states until late tomorrow. Potentially, we saw again in 2020 all the late results in the presidential election between Biden and Trump. Could see the same between Trump and Harris. But where we stand right now, Donald Trump with a comfortable electoral college lead, 188 to 99 over Kamala Harris, and the lead in the key battleground states of Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, and a surprising lead in Democratic stronghold Virginia. Kamala Harris with the lead in potentially the biggest state of the night, Pennsylvania, and in Michigan. That is where we stand right now, approaching the 10 o'clock hour here on the East Coast in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Thank you for tuning into WCTV's live election coverage. We're going to take a quick break before we come back.
Welcome to the Eberly Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the print collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
Welcome back, and we're going to do a quick last update for myself, Meg Berry, and Joey Shirillo. A lot of things just changed.
A lot just happened.
Honestly, we're only away for 45 seconds, but a lot just changed. According to the Associated Press polls, Pennsylvania is now flipped in favor of Donald Trump. Again, those votes will not be counted until probably tomorrow morning. So it's a flip back and forth, and we're probably going to see that more later tonight. But on top of that, Donald Trump has just officially won Utah and Montana. So Donald Trump is sitting at 198 electoral college votes, while Kamala Harris is at 99. And as I look back down at my screen here, Oregon is now in favor of Donald Trump as well. So Donald Trump currently has Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Oregon, and Arizona also just popped up, and New Mexico are in favor of Donald Trump. Again, very early on for the western side of the states to have these poll results coming in. So keep paying attention to that as we are going to wrap up coverage here. But 198 Donald Trump, Kamala Harris 99 currently, according to the Associated Press polls.
And just as those polls closed at the 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is going to do it all for us here on WCTV's live election coverage. Be sure to stay tuned on WCTV's social media pages and YouTube for more Waynesburg content. That is going to do it all for us here on WCTV's live election coverage. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night, and God bless America.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.